Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And there's a PayPal link down there for anybody that wants to share some love. And, of course, there's the link down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. We're going to do a little review of the City Council meeting, my time at the podium, and a couple other things in regards to that. But before we get started on that, I want to do a couple shorts. Let's see, what is it? First one, just out of pure comedy and to show the stupidity and the insanity of the greed and gluttony and the things that we get ourselves into when we start stealing and lying and cheating and all that. That act itself shows that we're probably not too bright to begin with. So let's take a look at the scale of, or the level of stupidity that we can find in our society. Dang it.
My wallet.
What was in your wallet?
It was $50.
Okay.
I had to replace all my IDs. I had gift cards in there.
That sucks.
My earpiece and a calculator.
There was no earpiece in the mail.
You dummy! Why'd you admit it?
For the plaintiff for the amount of $500. That's what I think it's.
A 26-second court case. In 26 seconds, he told on himself because he's that fucking stupid. The next one, on the other hand, is at the other end of the scale when it comes to that knowledge and making others look stupid. And so let's take a look at this one. Oops, we may have to.
A one there, 3 on the top, 2 here, a skin here, bro. What kind of haircut, bro? Yeah.
So he just tried to tell him how he wanted his haircut by numbers. So evidently he's going by clipper numbers and stuff. And watch what happens. So the barber himself is questioning, well, what kind of haircut? That doesn't tell me much.
Yeah, let me show you. Here's your card. Here's tip. How much you got it? £20 tip for you. How much is this? £200. I took £220 tip for you. Thank you, man. Oh, don't come back here again, huh?
Don't come back here again, huh? See, when you go in and you already know what their job is and you make them look stupid, they no longer want to do business with you. So the other end of the scale of this knowledge thing is learning how to do business and learning what you want before you go asking the question so that you already know the answer, so that when they give you a stupid answer, you can point it out. So let's take a look at the City Council meeting. My portion in it. Oops. And this is my little bit in it. I'm not going to show the rest of it, but we'll show this little bit. The rest of it really doesn't have much concern for my audience. But I went in with something already drawn up to speak on this time. And I thought I had it pretty well drafted out. And though I made all the points in here, I did not stick directly to it. I ended up cutting a few statements out because of time. And I did so because I knew that according to the way I'd already practiced this, it sounded impatient and in haste. So I wanted to make sure I slowed down my speech a little bit so that they got specific points so I could enunciate certain things. So in that adaptation on the spot, there are some things that weren't mentioned according to what I had written out, but it still turned out just great. I think I mentioned all the points. So we're going to listen to this, and then if anybody's curious, I'd go ahead and read what I already had written out. I did read it on a panel yesterday as well as on Mitch Levin's thing today. So here we go.
Greetings, everybody. Keith again. I've been here before several times, and I've been trying with great patience to keep certain matters private in my communications with you as city and county officials. Having not experienced great success and rather rude reactions and ignorance, my patience wears very thin. Communication is a basic obligation in your public service. Leaders not listening to public can lead to challenges and hinder effective governance and community engagement. One of the major barriers to effectively provide that leadership is the failure to listen to the people in community. This is considered the #1 barrier to leadership, and it can impede the growth and personal and professional leadership skills and qualities in our communities. Active listening to the people in a community is crucial for creating an environment of improved morale and engagement. Strategies such as conducting one-on-one discussions with our community leaders, like I've asked for with the mayor, it took me 6 months. The problem of disengagement with local communities is often attributed to a narrow understanding of local democracy. We depend upon the people for that democracy. This can nullify the efforts of leaders and community members who genuinely engage with people on important issues, leading to a lack of public trust. And that's what I'm talking about right here today. I don't trust any of you, none of you. You won't even answer a simple question. And here I am again, making another demand because you won't answer those questions. People who fail to realize that they have an obligation to the people or are just not competent enough to comprehend that their very job is dependent on these communications aren't viable for that position in community trust. You will no longer just pick and choose who you communicate with. I demand to know who this company, who this city surety company is, so I can make my proper documentation and put it forth, so that I'm recognized as a viable member of this community, willing to communicate with the people. I have exhausted the administrative process when the administration itself fails to fulfill their obligation of public service. Local governments are facing challenges related to high turnover and the belt tightening. I'll remind you of Tiffany Hanger over in Dover, Illinois. And that's not just a one-time incident. It's occurring more and more. I don't want to see that happen here in this community. This can result in a loss of institutional knowledge and create stress within the community. I, for one, hope those in obligatory capacities would know their jobs and uphold the Constitution and basic obligations of communicating with us. Thank you.
So that was my short presentation there. And let me, and the premise on that is the government accountability. So let me get a chance to pull this up. I didn't have this prepared. But it all goes to their accountability. That's the accounts that they are keeping of the events, which are their contracts that they have to get paid for, and the performance thereof. Those events are the events that we're talking about as far as government obligations. Okay. Sorry for the delay here. The dead time, the dead air time. Moment of silence. Okay, let's see. There we go. And so I'm going to read this out loud. And this is from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, governmentaccountabilityoffice.gov press release. Finds ongoing serious weaknesses in U.S. government's financial statements. Again, this goes to that legal fiction and knowing how to sign that signature, and all of those are financial statements. The data elements that are entered into their record system as a matter of finance, a matter of settlement. Remember what the term finance means, settlement, to put an end to. Washington, February 16th, 2023, so just over a year ago. The Government Accountability Office is again unable to provide an opinion on the reliability of the federal government's consolidated financial statements. So first and foremost, before I go any further, I want to make sure that we understand what this is saying. This is telling us we really can't, as people, depend upon the government accountability. I'll read that again. The Government Accountability Office is again, so it's not the first time, unable to provide an opinion on the reliability those liabilities and the reliability of the federal government's consolidated financial statements. The government's consolidated financial statements. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 14, the Congress shall make rules for the government. They don't apply to the people. This is especially troubling given the significant domestic and international challenges facing our government, which place a premium on the need for accountability and transparency, said Gene L. Dodaro, U.S. Comptroller General and the head of the Government Accountability Office. Domestic and international challenges for the domestic liability that is transferred to the foreign entity, we the people, as a reliability. They rely on us. But their records say they have no reliability. They have no opinion on the reliability. They can't say this or that about it. They're unable to place their opinion on it. The facts show that it's not reliable. Otherwise, their opinion would be that it is reliable. The difficulty in providing an opinion is due to long-standing financial management problems at the Department of Defense. 5 U.S.C. 301 Departmental Regulations applicable to the Department of Defense. Plain writing requirements in governmental documents, and the minimum birth registration requirements. Inadequate accounting for transactions between government agencies from the time that is instituted at enumeration upon birth, and weaknesses in the processes for preparing the statements, because neither the public officials nor the people understand how those financial statements actually relate to themselves. Again, finance. Look it up. Etymology. To settle. To put an end to. Greetings, Joe. How you doing tonight?
Doing well, man. I seem to be, this seems to be what my lessons lately and stuff like this, bro. This is all coming across lately.
Well, I hope you're still learning, like you said the other night. And anytime you need me to slow down, brother, you just do so.
Yeah, you helped me a ton. And I just left Mitch. I saw you over there. He'll probably be over here too.
Cool.
And it just so happens, you know, I believe in science and symbols are for the conscious mind. The video that I'm doing right now is about me going into a courtroom and filming and, you know, all the bullshit that came along, all the cops they called. And it's all on theme because of the shit that Mars was talking about earlier today. And the other shit I've been watching, this guy, High Frequency Radio, if you saw the black guy me and Mars was watching for a minute, he is saying the same thing about how once you fall into that judicial belief system, you become slaves and all of that shit. And it all seemed to tie together, man. That's all I've been hearing everywhere I go lately.
Yeah. I'm neither a judicial prisoner nor an extrajudicial prisoner because I have no judicial concerns. My value is a different representation.
Yes, and there's no room for that. I imagine if you present your argument that is against my beliefs, that will be interpreted by them that is against your religion. What religion are you? I'm not a religion, man. This is my beliefs.
Correct.
And for them, no. You have to be enough of you, and we have to say it's okay and deem you before we can even consider that argument. One man alone cannot, his beliefs mean nothing until we say that type of shit. You know, you are a slave. You fall for that bullshit. I don't want no part of that.
Yep,
you know,
absolutely.
But I heard you went to a meeting today.
Yep. I just did the review on that. I'm gonna read.
Did you read the paper you were gonna read?
I read it, but I didn't read it verbatim because I decided that it was packed into that 3 minutes, so it sounded kind of hasty or impatient if I just read through it. So I made sure to make some pauses and iterate specific words. And
how do you think you did? Because it's hard for me to believe that you could have topped the paper. It's just, you know, the paper was just written so well.
Well, let's go back and watch it again. It's only 3 minutes.
Got it, yeah. If you got it, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back and watch it again real quick, guys. Because I like Joe up here. He's going to help me break it down.
I do a lot
even more, I think, and that's what I need.
Yeah, my friends go to a lot of council meetings, and right now, a lot of them are being kicked out those council meetings. A lot of them, everybody I know is going in there wearing shirts with signs and shit. Oh my God!
Yeah, I try to go in plain shirted and everything. The only thing I want to push is this, and it's a good point to, you know, I'm walking that Hitler's willing executioner message out in the open, and nobody says a word about it. Yeah. But it's a constant reminder, not just for them, but for me. I don't want to be a follower. I don't want to be a rule-governed body. No. Let that lesson not be forgotten. We are going through a repetition of history right here in America. This is pathetic.
Thank you, James Freeman. You are the one who opened my eyes to that whole concept. So I wouldn't even understood this. It'd have been a different language had I not started watching James Freeman.
Yeah, if you guys don't know James Freeman, go ahead and check him out. So looks like we've got an approval down in the chat, so let's hit it.
Right
and like I said, just stop me if you need.
Greetings, everybody. Keith again. I've been here before several times, and I've been trying with great patience to keep certain matters private in my communications with you as city and county officials. Having not experienced great success and rather rude reactions and ignorance, my patience wears very thin. Communication is a basic obligation in your public service. Leaders not listening to public can lead to challenges and hinder effective governance and community engagement. One of the major barriers to effectively provide that leadership is the failure to listen to the people in community. This is considered the #1 barrier to leadership, and it can impede the growth and personal and professional leadership skills and qualities in our communities. Active listening to the people in the community is crucial for creating an environment of improved morale and engagement. strategies such as conducting one-on-one discussions with our community leaders, like I've asked for with the mayor. It took me 6 months. The problem of disengagement with local communities is often attributed to a narrow understanding of local democracy. We depend upon the people for that democracy. This can nullify the efforts of leaders and community members who genuinely engage with people on important issues, leading to a lack of public trust. And that's what I'm talking about right here today. I don't trust any of you. None of you. You won't even answer a simple question.
Someone won't even look at you.
And here I
Yep.
am again, making another demand.
Look at the mayor looking
because you
over
won't answer those
in a
questions.
conversation with the other guy.
People who fail to realize that they have an obligation to the people, or are just not competent enough to comprehend that their very job is dependent on these communications, aren't viable for that position in community trust. You will no longer just pick and choose who you communicate with. I demand to know who this company, who this city surety company is, so I can make my proper documentation and put it forth, so that I'm recognized as a viable member of this community, willing to communicate with people. I have exhausted the administrative process when the administration itself fails to fulfill their obligation of public service. Local governments are facing challenges related to high turnover and the belt tightening. I'll remind you of Tiffany Hanger over in Dole, Illinois. And that's not just a one-time incident.
Ooh, the guy in the purple, he backed
I don't
up.
want to see that happen.
He felt that.
Yep.
He's guilty of something.
This can result in a loss of institutional knowledge and create stress within the community. I, for one, hope those in obligatory capacities would know their jobs and uphold the Constitution and basic obligations of communicating with us. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, it's, you know, I think I hit the foundation of communication between parties. And if you're going to fail your part when I'm repeatedly doing my best to do so, then I am without a remedy. That's the exhaustion of the administrative process. Now I have to exit that administrative process, create my own remedy, and you may not like it.
Wizard, I've been talking to a lot of people, including Flo and Rogue. Apparently, you know, all of this Rogue Nation, fucking Erie County, Long Island. And I am saying that there is no remedy. This has come up, I believe, in Signs and Symbols, and you said that word. I'm saying there is no remedy. They wouldn't write in their words a way to bring them down. There's not really, it's not even logical. And I'm out there all the time, and I see how hard it is to talk to someone. Even the lowest public servant blows you off. So it doesn't appear to be any remedy. And that leads to, if you don't give me a remedy, which you won't, then I'll find one, which is my duty.
Right. And that's the creation of your own contract as a benefactor. You're going to create a contract for the person, recognizing the person as separate. And if anybody needs to contract, the conditions are already set. They have to recognize
the person as separate, so I can make sure I understand. I think I understand that part. That's the person, who I am, is different from what you're telling me. You're telling me I'm Joe Oliver, this number, blah, 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 blah. But really, I am something else. I'm here at this time in this body. I am a lot more than what you're calling me.
Correct.
All right. And that's where I'll have you put it, the person, something.
Right. You have a person, just like the Fourth Amendment says, the people shall have a right to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects.
There you go.
Now we know we are not the effect. We are what causes the effects. We know we are not our papers because they are separate from us. We know we are not our houses because they are separate from us.
What does securing our persons mean then?
It means the person is separate from us, first and foremost. Now that we know that it's separate from us, it is an effect of us in documentary form that allows us to acquire the house.
Yes, but not us. We're not that
Correct.
thing still, right?
Correct.
Yes, and like you're saying, by them saying cars, so and so, they're telling you that these are things that are separate that you own or something.
Correct. And so when you write that contract, you put those separations in there by using certain specific terms, such as without recourse, pay to the order of, by benefactor for, estate of Keith Little in trust, known as da da da, whatever.
I was so far away from that shit, bro.
Well, yeah, and it's just a matter again of making sure that you're concise about what's happening. This is coming. If you want equity, you must first come with equity. So that means if you want to get rid of the confusion, you have to come with conciseness.
All right, there's equity. All right. I'm not even sure that I should have to do these things. I should have to write these things and know this language. I'm not so sure that it's the same way I'm not so sure about cop watching. I am indulging them in some fashion by doing that and quoting. I don't want to read that. I'm going to lose train of thought. Anyway, I lost it. Fuck it. That was good. Thanks, man. Mike joined something. Just restreaming. You can okay. Catch my breath, sending folks this way. You know where to find me, or I will join if I have something to add and not distract.
Yeah, he always thinks he's a distraction. He's not. He brings up some good points, and that's why I need you guys. But I
was gonna say I need him bad. He interprets so much for me the same way. You do. I wish Paul could. It might be my fault because some about Paul I can't tolerate. I want the information, but I don't want to be belittled at the same time or whatever that is. But I need it. I know he got it. I just don't know how to get that shit, bro.
Well, he's got some. I've got some. Mitch has got some. You've got
and you
some.
cats are willing to share, right? You cats are willing to share. And, Mitch, I appreciate that he takes the time to try to articulate his thoughts and stuff. You see he's working hard.
Yeah.
And you the same thing. I slow you down. I know that shit. So I appreciate you taking time, to change a little something for me. I appreciate it. You ain't.
Absolutely. And it all comes again down to learning that separation. And that's that scripture that says, know thyself, heal thyself. The only way you can bring your body, your soul back up, which is a resurrection, is to heal thyself. That's truly what the resurrection is a healing. And so in that healing, what you have to do is you have to learn how to merge that person with you so you control it. Because it's a separate and distinct thing, different from you, but somebody else is holding it and controlling it. And they're not doing a very good job of it.
I don't know if that's know thyself. I would assume how you heal yourself. I would assume know thyself, heal thyself, and you will be resurrected. I would assume that means you must find that vibration. You can't let yourself anger. That's the true me wouldn't do these things. The true me would not anger people intentionally or other things. So then I'll come to know myself, and that will be the resurrection. I don't know that in its simplest terms it's got anything to do with that person they control. I'm not sure that they got anything to do with me. I do this shit because you're in a foreign land. You got to learn the language and learn to move around and shit. I think in the Bible would approve of that and repeat that.
Right. And that's being able to go out into your community and do that. See, and that's why I'm doing the city council stuff, because I have to make sure that I'm not sounding like the belligerent I was when I was in the courts.
Very
and
good.
I'm telling you what, and I'm telling you what, it's a tough battle, folks. It really is. Like I said, you heard me. I don't trust you.
Right. I get you
No
though,
way.
man. That anger shit, when to you, it's kind of just how I express this thought or emotion or whatever. I'm just trying to express a thing, and you become so used to it. No, I became so used to it that when at some point when I come to a realization that I had to change that shit, and I had to be the proper person at the proper place and time. And sometimes there is a time for that guy, but it's not all the time. And trying to control it and not be him all the time, because I give him so much free reign, it takes a while. So
Well,
I'm
yeah,
with you on that. But
yeah, I relate that to back when I was in that 12-step program, and people then told me I was an asshole, told me, and that my anger was an issue, and they tried to convince me that it was a character fault. And I'm already of the opinion that it's not a character fault. It's a character trait and it's in fault and it's a matter of being balanced. So it's not something I need to get rid of. I need to
it's not
maintain my anger.
inherently right. I get
Right.
you.
I need to
Yeah.
maintain my anger so it doesn't get out of whack. And
Right.
that's, I'm going through
Right.
that same fucking lesson again here, and that's
Yeah.
because on this metaverse, it's a different platform and I'm able to allow that to freely reign because I know it's not really harming anybody. That's not my intent. So in that, I let loose too much and, that's still a bad character look. So,
Yeah. I've been reading some Middle East stuff. This I don't know, a couple years ago now, but they would agree that if you cause a person anxiety, even all of these things, if you can avoid it, then you bear responsibility. So that would never be my intent. I'm just trying to communicate. My intent would not be to harm that person, even if they're sensitive as fuck. Apparently, I bear some responsibility, and I'd be like, "Suck it up, nigga. Don't nobody care about your fucking emotions." Apparently, that might be the wrong shit to do.
yeah, it's he who does naturally what the law says is a law unto himself. And that's
Yes,
why I say about children, if you just didn't teach them about the evil shit,
that's
they
for
would
sure.
grow up in a wonderful world, letting their imaginations fly about all the good things they think about as children. That's when we're
That's
most
that.
inspired and filled with dreams.
That's that Garden of Eden shit. That's that fruit of tree of knowledge shit.
Yep.
How do we? Because once it's open, it's like Pandora's box. I agree with you. The nature of children, the nature of man, period, is quite different than what we show right here.
Well, it's just like the meeting tonight. I'm not just talking about their accountability, but my own. Like I said, this is why I'm going out into the community because I recognize that level of accountability, and if I want to hold them accountable to it, I've got to be able to show them how to do it.
Agreed. That's the
I've
equity.
already,
When you say equity, that's what I hear is equity. You come,
yeah,
you know,
a gentleman announces his presence, and he stands in honor and shows his loyalty to truth. There needs nothing else be discussed. Let's
sound
talk.
like Paul right there, bro. Ooh.
And it's just basic, simple intuition and instincts to know that the neighbor that you might love, even though you've been taught to love him, you should know that there should be an element of fear in there too. We hear today all kinds of people say, "Well, I'd have never thought about that. He thought about that about him because he was such a nice guy and it always just seemed plain and simple." Come to find out, he's this terrible pedophile that buried 13 kids under his fucking house.
I wouldn't let that put a element of fear in me though. I
No,
walk into all places with the assumption that if a man hasn't done that, maybe that particular thing, he is capable of a lot of
right.
crazy shit.
The
Yeah.
capabilities, correct. We're all capable. So
Yes.
in that, I have to learn my own fear of my own self in knowing that if I do pick up a shovel again, I better know how to use it in a most practical way and hope I don't have to hit somebody over the head again.
So that's something you did in the past.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You come charging at me with a shovel and threaten to knock me out, and I get the opportunity, which I
Yeah.
ironically did. All I did was went like this, and magically somehow that shovel ended up in my hand, and I just used that momentum right back on him. And
Right.
you know,
You
I
know,
don't go around acting like that at any time. I'm always the nice and gentle guy first, and it's not until
yes.
I'm aggressed that I'll act.
Yes.
But
I
fear
wish
not.
I wish I could show you again the vid, how things are repeating here. The vid that I'm working on. My friend got the officer's body cam when I went to court. And I was really nice as I try to be a gentleman and nice and all of that shit. And then when I'm in the courtroom, I turn around, there's three of them back there, and she's got a clipboard. She's motioning me to come when I come over there. And she's like, yeah, we just need your name because I'm holding your property. I was like, no fucking way. Like, what property? Your lighter. We're talking about a disposable lighter there. You can't take a lighter in there, you know, you sit on a desk
Yeah,
or whatever.
state's got possession of property,
I
holding it in
was,
abeyance until a rightful claimant comes forth and makes a
yeah,
valid claim. And they're looking for you to make a claim.
I got hot. I got hot. I like, come here. I pulled her out the courtroom. Like, I should record this. And man, you don't fucking interrupt me. And what I'm doing under that bullshit pretext that you want to ID me through my lighter. You know, I ain't got time for this shit. You know, and the body cam, that's not on there. That's when she starts recording. But the body cam, I just put it in the video before I hopped on here. She says, you know what's funny? You know, she comes to the security room and she's like, I'm recording, you know, so they're recording. And the guy at the security desk is like, I'm recording too. And he's got the outside camera. She's like, we can record them going to their car, see what car they get in. She's like, you know what's funny? That one guy was so nice, the guy with the fur on his jacket, until I asked him for his name. You know, I had his lighter and asked him for his name. He got so angry. He came out and was like, you don't be interrupting me and you being rude and whatever. What Al forget. You may be thinking that whatever the fuck
I'll
you
have to
saying.
check it out. I'll have to check it
out. I don't even have it out yet. I'm still editing it, but I just edited that part. So what does that signs and symbols, right? Signs and symbols are for the conscious mind. I've been taught that all my fucking life.
Yep. That's the book of Enoch, chapter 69, verses 8 through 11. The angel Penemu, where we get the term pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, Penemu. And he taught man how to read and write, which is what we read and write with, is a pen. But this is the downfall of man. For men were conscripted of the same as angels, and were not meant for reading and writing.
It would look like it, man. And listen, I probably told you I had some near death, some weird shit. I woke up in a hospital 26 hours later or some shit. But these three people, they're not regular people though. They're like three energies, I'll say, 2 male, 1 female. And they would come back and visit me from time to time. And they would always tell me, they didn't tell me outright, I don't think, but they hated technology. After I finished communing with these guys, I call it, because I had to like meditate and all that stuff. And when I come out of it, every time I would almost, you know, when I started doing it, I had beepers, but I did it long enough to where phones came along. So I would want to throw my beeper at the ground or throw my phone in the lake if that's where I was doing it at. And it'd be so, the urge is so strong that I don't know how I didn't do it. The urge to get away from technology and shit. So you saying that, it makes me, you know, it kind of, I forget, confirmation. It confirms that there is something inherent in there that is going to fuck us up.
Yeah, that's why I urge everybody to recognize his metaverse for what it is, okay? We have two aspects we can play on this metaverse, and they're very distinct opposing dynamics. In this metaverse, and I've explained it before, when we go up on these panels and stuff, but particularly the drama panels, what it looked to me like in the beginning, when I first started doing this, it looked like people were trying to haze me.
Yeah.
I come to realize that that's exactly what's happening, except that the difference between hazing as a one-time event, it repeats itself every day on all of those platforms. It's constant. It's constant hazing of new people coming in and out of those communities.
Yes, if it ain't you, it's somebody else. The hazing continues.
Correct.
I gotta say, I think I'm guilty of that. My hazing may be different. I wouldn't call you names and shit like that, but I test everyone. You know, I listen to their words to see if they're truthful. if their expressions match so and so, and then I'll be like, and if their words match up. Like for instance, this one guy was like, I was in the military, and I found out I was working for the politicians, and it sucks. Ooh. And then in the next shit out of his mouth, he's bragging on his military shit. This day I met him, and I'm like, well, dude. The hypocrisy there, you got one message or the other. You just tell us, it's a horrible thing. Now you like, hoorah, go Marines. Which is it, motherfucker? It's confusing. We got into it a bit. But I can tell you a million people upon meeting me, and we're still friends, and they'll tell you, meeting Joe was hard. I think it's a hazing. In some fashion, it is not degrading in any form or fashion. That's what you see on most of these drama panels, intent to hurt and harm. There's none of that there.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to point out. When it comes to this quote damage and harm and injury and stuff in this metaverse, when somebody calls you names and stuff, truly the only way you can get that harm is to perceive that harm yourself.
Yes, especially in the metaverse. Yeah.
And know that the one that you're receiving that supposed harm from did so knowingly with intent.
Yes. That's wrong?
Yeah, that's a very hard element to prove. I'm not intending
to
hurt anybody. I might call you a name, but I admit myself, you calling me an asshole doesn't hurt me.
Right. I understand. I wonder if with intent, I imagine you're a good judge of it, because you remind me of me. I think I'm a good judge. I don't assume that people's intent is always like that. However, some of us get it wrong, like people like Jack. You don't know Jack. Some people, Tommy is in, Tommy. I don't. Do you know Jack? Anyway, some people, if you know Jack Talcott, he's really like this.
Of course, I know Jack Talcott.
Okay, all right, so good. He interprets shit as people's intent. He always gets it wrong. Always.
Yeah, that was one of our major conflicts. Somehow, he twisted me after he asked for help. He twisted me offering help with his house as far as bankruptcy goes as something that wasn't applicable, and made it an intentful attack on him to his intelligence or something, as if though he'd not thought about that before.
Right, man.
I'm like, wait a minute.
It's just my opinion on some shit. How did it get translated into I fucking offended you? And not only that, it's worse. I attacked you intentionally and tried to hurt you in some way. What the fuck? Who are you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, and that brings out the opposing dynamic on this is, you remember Philip Zimbardo, Professor Emeritus at Stanford. He did the Stanford prison experiment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he ended it in 6 days.
Yes.
And even though it was supposed to go 14 days, and he had even thought about ending it sooner. And what he found out was that when given the authority, people will do heinous things just because they have no other authority, is the perception. They're given full range to do what they feel natural. And that natural shit comes out because they all of a sudden shed off their shoulders any authority over them that can hold them accountable. They know it's just an experiment.
Yes.
So
authority will bring out the worst in you.
Correct. So when we think about that opposing dynamic, he now runs the Heroic Imagination Project. And this is a project where he's trying to bring people together to help put that heroic imagination back into the children through education. It's all an educational program. And remember what I said about them children and them dreams and their imaginations are some of the most powerful ones. If we could just learn how to harness that and let them do at their will in that innocence to be the hero that they look for.
Look, but it doesn't apply to the kid. It applies to the kid and you. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Einstein said that shit.
Correct.
He still at his
We're
age
supposed to learn from them.
Yes, understood that imagination, that kid in you, is still more important than all that other shit.
Yeah, when we get boxed into those EM equals C squared equations and stuff, we can't think outside of that.
Yeah.
That's the very problem with some of that genius shit.
Yeah.
There are
Yes.
still
I would
things
agree
out
with
there that are better, but
Yes.
we get locked in a box thinking it's genius.
Here's one that I agree. Here's one that for proof of it, the pyramids, the way they were set up. Man, I hear people say, man could not have made it. It must have been aliens because we couldn't do that today. They're locked in that. We're geniuses. If we can't do it, no one can. Shit.
Yep.
No. There are many ways. And we don't.
So yeah, and you know, and that's why I mentioned the thing about intent with the metaverse and this hazing shit. You got to have some kind of intent. With the Heroic Imagination Project, they're targeting specific intent of that heroic imagination. You know,
Okay.
instead of a popularity contest, the heroic imagination to be good is the basic principle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So the intent is what's missing in most people. I don't think a lot of people run around with much great intent.
Yes.
Their main intent is comfort and convenience because that's what's comfortable and convenient.
I think some of these people, I agree, main intent, but I think some of these people do wake up with nefarious intent. I wake up, and the shit I'm here now, I wake up, how can I help someone be a better person and all of that shit today? I have good intent. As soon as Mars said, you know, oh, where's this in there? Ooh, and he put your shit up there. I was like, oh, wow, we should go over there and support him. He's like, yeah, put the link in. But that was my intent. I think it's people who wake up, and many more who wake up with intent to ruin someone's day in some form of fashion. They don't know it, but they went to sleep last night and they're mad at Carol and they're going to get her this morning. Or in the metaverse, shit, it'd be what so-and-so said. I'm going to call so-and-so and get their information and put out what school a kid goes to. And they wake up with that fucking intent. And a lot of niggas on these drama panels, that's what they do. They spend the whole day gathering shit to cause this person anxiety. And then,
that's the danger of this metaverse. Like I said, to me, as I recognize it, and this is the important part, you have to recognize it for what it is, you know. And if you're being targeted by one of those people and you don't recognize it, you're in deep trouble.
Yes, okay? Yes. So you better be a good determiner of intent. You better be more accurate and check.
So coming into this stuff, it's just like we say, if you're gonna hit that panel link and go up on panel, that's an open fight. You better be prepared to have your feelers hurt. I don't care what panel you go on.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't take accountability for that first and foremost,
you got no business hitting the link.
Yeah. You're already distracted from your intent. You're proving that your intent is emotionally based, and that's not rational.
Oh, someone said, "What's up, Rago?" Someone said in a clip, wait a minute, I bet you can find it. Pull up a clip. It's going to say anger. Anger is, come on, Joe. Anger, I don't know how to find it, though. Well, in the clip, he says, the definition of anger. Try that, the definition of anger. I'd rather he say it than me because he said it's just like a 20-second short or less. What's up, Rago?
I said, I came to say what up to the homies.
That's good.
Hey, how you doing, Ragamuffin?
I am doing fantastic, sirs. How are you both doing?
Doing well.
Oh, yeah.
Much love, much respect.
I'm
absolutely
really enjoying that shit. I was at Wizards yesterday, and he was doing some shit. He was helping me mostly. Then Mars just helped me, and now we're doing this shit again. I've been working on a video related to this shit. I'm really enjoying myself, right?
Homies helping homies. I like it.
I do. I love it, man. The Bible says friends are for hard times, and your brothers were born for adversity. The first part tell you that's what friends are, for hard times. Lean on them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, Joe, I'm gonna drop you my email in the chat. Make sure you take this shit down, and you as well.
Okay, I'll screenshot it. Do you know how to put it in the back chat?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do right now. Yeah,
I'll screenshot it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's hit this because I saw this too, and you're absolutely right, Joe. This is absolutely magnificent definition of anger.
Oh, we got no sound. You
No
hear me,
sound?
Wizard?
No sound. Let me reload myself, and I'll be right back, guys.
All right. Oh, wow. Rago, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here, and I just made a typo, so let me just fix this. Rega likes to come correct all the time. Because you know how these fools out on these metaverses be, man. He said this, she said that. Battle, battle, battle. Ping pong, ping pong.
You're not going to believe what she said. But she
All right.
said, he hit me first.
Yeah.
Let her rip. Let her rip. I'm going to be quiet. My bad.
The definition of anger, I like this. The definition of anger is an emotional punishment you give yourself for somebody else's behavior. The definition.
How dope is that? A punishment you give yourself for someone else's behavior.
Yep. That's why I say you can throw those ad hominems all you want. That only shows you're stupid because it's not going to anger me.
Yes, it reveals you. Yeah.
Right. It might get me excited and passionate and start expressing things, but it doesn't anger me. You know?
And I am like really numb to it. Not only that, I don't know, I'm pretty advanced with it. I see it as you're making yourself look bad. It bounces off of me. It probably has little or no effect on me. Ad homs and shit. And yeah, you're right. It might charge me up. I think he's weak. Get him. Yeah, I do. I have some of that going on. Yeah.
Anger rests in the bosom of fools.
Yeah, and I can and I can certainly see that too, you know, and that's acceptable. That's like I said earlier, sometimes you have to be an asshole. So it's a matter of keeping an eye on people, see how much they're an asshole. See how much they're nice and see how much they're asshole. Is it a balance? Is it a good balance? Is it a wide-ranging teeter-totter? Are they centrally balanced and making it a good even flow? Greetings, Miss Cat. How you doing tonight?
No, is it really? Is it not my cat? Is it? No, that's not my cat. How you doing, Miss Cat? Can't hear you. Sweetie, that is my cat. You can't hear you, babe.
Hello.
Oh, can't hear her. That is a good friend of mine, if you know her.
You're muted.
I think she be having computer issues and shit. That's the real.
Sorry, having problems with my dog. 1 second.
All right,
okay.
That's it.
That explains it. Yeah, I can understand that.
She is the greatest person. I don't want to build her up, too hard, too much, but she is the greatest person. Every time I make a list of people who I prefer to converse with on this metaverse, she is among the list. And this may sound chauvinistic, but she is always the top woman, if not the only woman.
Nice.
It may sound horrible to women.
Well, no, not at all. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give her a chance. We're going to go back to this document, this government accountability document real quick, because I want to finish off with this part right here. It says, in addition, the Small Business Administration. This is the small business concern. You know, the legal name created upon enumeration at birth. The individual running a United States business. It's a small business, but it's a United States business known as United States citizen. Had continuing financial management deficiencies in their pandemic relief programs. The Department of Education could not adequately support the cost of its loan programs, telling us it's the Department of Education is part of the loan program. And improper
I can
payment.
tell you, excuse me, I'm sorry, but I can say that first part, Department of Defense, when every time they've audited them, 3 that I'm aware of, it's been at least $4 trillion that they couldn't find, and 4.4, and the other one was higher than that in the last 3 audits. So they're talking about big money. Department.
Yeah, I think it was 4.82 billion or
trillion. trillions. Yeah.
and then 4.4 and 4.0. I read that same thing. Yeah.
Yes. How crazy
Oh, right
is
here.
that, man?
4.2 or 4.5 trillion.
Yeah.
4.0 trillion September 22.
Yeah.
21, 22, and then 4.82 in 2023.
That's crazy, yo.
So in here it says the Department of Education could not adequately support the cost of its loan programs, and improper payments totaling 247 billion just from the Department of Education, which again is part of the Department of Defense as a military institution, folks.
Is that true?
Yeah, and those are military schools.
All right, let me screenshot that.
Hi, sorry.
No, we got you back. We can hear you.
Thanks for what you said, Joe.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet you, El Carol.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to drop this link for everybody too.
Yeah, I probably done built you up too big now. You can't live up to that.
I'm just a Canadian.
Somebody was just in back and dropped out. So please feel free to come. I was just busy in the background.
I meant to talk about something you were talking about before, but it took me too long to even get up here.
No, go ahead. What was it?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you guys were talking about the hazing and all that stuff, and Joe witnessed my hazing.
I did.
And he was on some panels while I was being hazed. And he also loves to troll me. But I love the shit out of him. He's my brother, my spiritual brother. Like we're in the same class.
Yes.
Growing up, So I mean, spiritually, not like he's in Chicago. I'm in Ontario. So, but the thing is that when I got here, I had to learn because I was surprised. I mean, the way that people went at me for no reason. I'm a nice person, and I try not to hurt anybody. And so I came here, and people were constantly trying to hurt me, and I had to get all tough and grow a thick skin. And that was my lesson. And Joe was part of helping to teach me that was my lesson. It doesn't matter what they say. But
the reason I could say that, Kat, is because I've been through one, and I came in this thing very popular. Famous is the word I wanted to say. Everybody knew who I was. My shit was, you think your shit was bad? My, picture, my shit would have been really worse by all the worst so-called trolls. But, they weren't trolls. The people, they went after me had really big channels and shit, it was fucking horrible. And they went at me in the worst ways.
Oh, no, I've seen them go after other people, and I've had it easy. But my problem is that I didn't come here for drama. I landed here by accident, not here, but in the drama by accident, thinking that I was going to be talking on a panel about 1A when that person had changed to drama, and I didn't realize that, and I made the mistake of jumping on panel without watching first because I knew the guy, so I thought that it was about 1A, so I just jumped right up thinking I'm gonna get my chance to talk in front of these people about 1A, but it wasn't about 1A. And then I got lambasted, and then my reputation got besmirched, and I was upset because I came here to talk about real life things, not to talk about drama. So my word and my reputation means something, whereas they were ruining. So now I had to learn a life lesson myself as to how to get a thicker skin. So just now you were talking about the Hero Project, and my daughter, I have a 7-year-old grandson. She homeschools him, and he has never had a needle in his life for anything, no VAXs or nothing. And she homeschools him, and she lets him live in his imagination, except that now he's 7, he has to do schoolwork. So there's times where he has to be serious and down to earth.
That's
but
good
other
too.
times,
You should teach him that. That's lesson is as important as the imagination. Yeah.
Because yes, he needs to be intermingled in regular life, right? But
No. I was just talking about the schooling part. Not even he has to learn to dedicate time, right? In order for him to survive
Yeah.
in life, he has got to learn to discipline himself and all of
Absolutely,
that.
yes, discipline.
Yeah.
She needs to discipline himself. Yes, but the rest of the time, he gets to live in his imagination, and they live in his imagination with him. So if he makes
Wow.
up a game, and you know, they'll just
Yes.
follow the rules of his game. So
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Now, the way that you were saying was, if people could just be themselves, then everything would be a Garden of Eden, right? But
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but how do you reconcile that with having to face the fact that there is evil, right? Like that you have to face evil. If you live in your imagination and are never challenged with the real life of the other side, which is the evil, then how can you even deal with it if you
when you
shrink?
said it, I understood where you were going with that, and I was gonna ask Wizard that same thing, because we was talking about how like AI and shit like that may be just bad, period. What if this shit falls under the same shit? And it would. The eating from the apple shit. Wizard, is that shit to be just avoided? Because
No,
okay.
no,
No, because
that's exactly what I've got pulled up here. Let me explain. It
Yeah.
says
okay.
what started initially as the controversial Stanford prison experiment by Dr. Philip Zimbardo in 1971 became a collective social experiment called the Heroic Imagination Project, a nonprofit research and education organization dedicated to training people to act in more heroic ways. That's the
Very
simple
good.
concept.
Yeah, that's
And
dope.
I think that's the basic dream and imagination of every little
Of
child.
all of us, right? We are doing
Oh,
something. They
to be
say all of
hero.
us are heroes in our dreams.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And with everything from Superman to Power Ranger, right?
Yes, yes. I'm a lucid dreamer. I had a dream one time when I was still getting this shit, and I was really good even at that time. But in this dream, there was a guy who had my abilities, and he'd come there to kill me, and I knew where he was, and so I knew where the building was. I created a plane, hopped in it, flew the plane, and thought, "Oh, you're showing weakness. Why would you create a plane? You can fly." And I let the plane disappear and flew to the building. And I know this guy already had the superpowers, and I use superpowers in every dream. I am dumb, crazy. I create the buildings and neighborhoods. I'm in there so much, I know which building is which and all of that shit. But I knew he had my equal abilities, and what I did, I looked through the wall and saw him. Shot through the wall, blew it up, shot him, went in there and fucked him up, killed him. The fight didn't last no fucking time. But I don't know. That's the shit that made me do
Tribe
that.
wants to know if you were doing super acid.
What is that? Acid with a cape?
Right.
Well,
That's funny.
there's somebody who Joe and I used to talk to him. Joe still probably talks to him. Who was
Of course
saying
I
that
do.
his name
I
starts
don't.
with N. He says that protests don't have any value, and that if you don't pay attention to the bad side, that you just keep on, just live normal, with the land. And I said, well, what about when bad people come to take it from you? And he says, well, it's not something. I don't want to speak for him, and I can't remember all his exact words because we
I
haven't
could tell
talked
you
for a
his
long time
answers.
now.
You got two options. You got one, you could leave that shit and rebuild again because shit is plentiful. There is no scarcity. That's one of his arguments. And the other, you make a decision. If you prepared to defend it, that's what you do. Those would be his two arguments. We had them
Okay,
conversations a lot.
Palestine is a good example of how he's wrong about protests, and also the fact that people were living in Palestine, the Palestinian Arabs and Jews were living in Palestine in a lovely way, respecting each other. Everything was really cool up
The
to
first
about
part about protests,
1970.
can I comment on that? You said it proves he's
Well,
wrong
wait,
about
we
protests.
have
I
to go
agree
back
with
to
you. I
Okay,
think you're
thank
right.
you. Thank you. Because it's not only the protest is not just to get the people in power to listen to you. It's emboldening everybody around you.
And that's what
to,
these
and
particular
that's
protests
the
are.
main. Yeah, and that
Amen.
was my big argument about the trucker thing in Canada here.
Yeah, it's better now.
Now I can see
Palestine
it.
is a better representation of it.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's a bigger, yeah. So, but also in Palestine, everybody was living on that land, which has energy of all their ancestors in
Of
that
course.
land, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
they're not looking to move. So they were living relatively peacefully with each other until about 1917, maybe a little bit before that, but and then 1948, of course. And they had borders. They didn't have borders. They were like First Nations people here in North America. They didn't believe that they owned the land, right? They just lived on the land. They worked with the land. They were caretakers of the land. They didn't have borders or believe in, making it into a country and all this stuff like a corporation. So that was imposed on them, both by other countries for setting up their fences and, the Zionists coming in and ruining everything. So they have to fight back or else they have to leave. And why should they leave when all their ancestors and all that energy is in that land that they were the caretakers of?
The answer to that is they should not have to leave, but I'm going to give you the guru shit here. But that should is almost irrelevant. There's a little jack, there is only the now. You must make a decision, and that's what you must adhere to now. There's a time for that when you're philosophizing. But if you decide you're not going to leave, then you have to become Sun Tzu and consider what you're up against. Understand the battle and the fight to protect your shit. You are all in once you make that decision. So should you leave? No, in my opinion, they should not have to leave. And they shouldn't have had to. They shouldn't have had, since I think whatever year Britain gave up that place, and they've been fucking them since. They shouldn't have had to endure that nonsense either.
No, that's right. But Nudu would say that they should just leave and go find other lands that are fertile that they can live on. But
he'd be right.
That's bullshit because he's not right, because there is history. You said living in the now. And I know that's the new thing about living in the now. And there is sense to that. However, history is important. And being on the land, the energy of your ancestors being there is very important. And if they were to go somewhere else where their ancestors were not, is not.
You don't think that ancestral energy will follow them? I'll grant you that on that land it would be stronger, but I don't think the ancestors would abandon them. And before ancestors, I would put God. I think God would come into play. I think the bigger move is to give it up. That's the godly shit to do.
Yeah, but I can't go with the God one thing, because to me, God doesn't give a shit about any of this stuff, right? Because this isn't real. All of this isn't real. So I don't think God gives a shit about any of us individually like that as a unit.
I don't know if that's the truth. I hate to cut you off, but you're not running around murdering people, so you do think that God cares what you do.
No, my soul does not have that in me that I want to take away from other people. So that's a different thing. It's not, I believe in the Creator as being the sum total of all the energy, which is mainly love, right? So and plus I had a Christian.
So is love killing those motherfuckers to stay for your energy and all of you guys dying, or is love doing what Guru's talking about? If we're talking about love.
No, what Nudu talks about does not seem to me to be based in love.
I would agree, but it is, whether he called it nature, he called it nature of man or something. But what it is, that is the turn the other cheek shit that Jesus, like, once you get there, that is that shit. That is the ultimate. I think you put talents in the bank and you get over there and you're in the master class when you vibrate out of this piece.
Well, I gotta ask. can love create hate?
Yes.
It can?
Yeah. The
Yeah, I
absence
guess it
of
could.
the
Why
love.
do we have such a high divorce rate? What do you think about Lorena Bobbitt?
It's the
What's that got to do with
expectation.
can love create hate?
And they didn't
It's the
fall in love
expectation.
first. They didn't
Hold
fall
on,
in
let me
love
try to get
first.
his point.
They didn't fall in love first, and then because of that love is the only reason that Mr. Bobbitt had his penis cut off.
And what was the other example you gave? The first one?
What about the divorce rate?
Love. All right, go ahead.
It's the expectation gone wrong that creates the
That.
hate. It started
No,
in
okay,
love.
well, let's go back to love. Let's go back to love. Can love create hate? The fact that I love a person, say some narcissist person, and I decide it's been 6 months, I'm going to go back over there and show them some of that love. And I getting back in touch with them and say, listen, you know, I hope you're doing well. Instantly, they trigger and think of how they can destroy me and my 5 closest neighbors. Love created hate. It seems.
Yeah. Yes. It's not the only way that hate can also be created. If you look at Israel and look at the citizens of Israel, they hate Palestinians for no reason. There's not that there was love.
I'm sure they have their reasons in their head.
Yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't only come from love, but it can create hate. Love can. It doesn't create it. The lack of the expectation gone wrong is what creates. In fact, I could hate you because maybe you look like my ex-boyfriend who treated me badly, right?
Yeah, but he used to love you, and that what made love created hate.
Yeah. Still, it came from the seed was love first.
In that instance, yeah.
Can hate bear love?
Bear?
Can hate create love?
Yeah.
Create?
Yes, it could. You could see a person and you can learn from the bad things they do. Let's say I was reading some shit about
but that's not hate.
Some shit about Auschwitz, how they watched all the guards and shit just beat the prisoners and take them away and do all these horrible things to them, and many of them they learned to love, I think, from that experience, because someone were talking about it. And
but the
in that
hate
instance,
didn't create that.
You don't think
Empathy
it was the hate that the
created
Germans had?
No,
but
it was
hate,
the piece of love that they still have in their heart that has the empathy, and then the empathy creates the love. But the hate itself didn't create the love.
the hate triggered the empathy, which created the love. Hate still
How
did
does
it.
hate?
That empathy.
How is that?
Well,
Trigger empathy?
The basis is still the fact that hate ended up in love. The origin ended up with an effect of love.
Well, you said
love end up with hate. Can hate love? Can hate kill hate? Can you defeat hate with hate?
No, hate doesn't.
No?
It's like dark doesn't beat dark. Light beats dark.
All right, I would agree.
And the same thing, you can't outlove love.
You can't outlove love. I've never heard that. I'm not even sure.
Has anyone even tried?
Right. I believe that unconditional love, that is the master class. When no matter what the person does, you says you have unconditional love for that person. You found Jesus in my terms, because I'm a fan of Jesus, which other people would call that vibration, or that natural, the guru would call it, you're in tune with nature. When you have unconditional love for everyone, like everybody, oh yeah, my family, my kid, those things are easy. What about everyone? What about the guy who doesn't even like you?
I'm going through that right now. I am trying to change my energy so that my prayers work better with the universe, because I have to have a lighter heart and higher vibrations, so the universe will mirror my prayers back. So to help the Palestinian situation, my prayers, I have been trying to learn how to love Israelis, which is a really hard fucking thing. I have literally hated them all my life. hated them.
No, I
Hated
get
them.
it. Like,
And that's
I've
a
been
good
trying
seg.
to understand them.
go
And
ahead.
that's the
And that's a good
understanding Servitude. Yes.
and that's a good segue real quick to the Middle East protest video I got pulled up.
All
Let
right.
me play this real quick. It's only 2 minutes and 12 seconds. I already cut
Let's
30
check it
seconds
out.
off.
All right.
Okay.
Where are you? It looks like a college for some reason.
Downtown at City Hall. This is just after I left the
Okay.
City Hall meeting tonight.
All right.
In Iowa.
Okay, my apologies, folks. I don't know how I did that. I clicked start and then clicked out. Down here at City Hall, just got done with the City Hall meeting or City Council meeting, and come outside, and evidently they're doing a protest. So I just wanted to go and make a quick little live about this. And what it is of course Palestinian Israel issue, and what they're doing again. The First Amendment doesn't give you a right to protest. Okay, when you come out here in the streets and publicly protest by raising volumes, slinging ad hominems, and stating your opinions about things of the world affairs, but not stating a foundational issue of a problem or a resolution, does nothing but prove that you're nothing but babbling idiots that don't know how to enforce your rights. Coming out here screaming in the streets does not do anything. So
This
think
is
about that.
perfect.
And again, remember that right to petition the government takes a good, sound mind to be able to rightly divide the word of truth. And that is so you can see the problem, come up with and affect that resolution. So again, remember that and know that once again, folks, I love you.
So yeah, if you've got a protestation, I urge you not to go out into the streets and protest it by raising volumes, calling everybody names, and saying this and that, and never once mentioning the foundation of the problem, your opinion on the resolution, and then the ability to be able
Aren't
to
you making
affect.
some assumptions? Aren't you making
Yeah.
some assumptions that these people are out there and they don't have opinions and are not stating their opinions of the problems and the resolutions? In fact, when they chant,
I listened. I did. I was sitting there listening to them, waiting for my ride. That's why I did the video. That's all they
what
were
are
doing
these
was. That's all they were
resolutions you
doing.
speak of?
Well,
If
instead
not,
of going,
Israel should stop bombing. You're having genocide. You're killing kids. They're
And
stating shit.
divest from investment.
again, yeah, it's the petition to the government for redress of grievances, and
That
that
does
grievances,
nothing.
Hold on, let them finish. Sorry.
and
Sorry.
that petition for redress of grievance has to be put through the proper diplomatic channels. When you're standing out in the streets, you're not using diplomatic channels showing you have a diplomacy about you that you can bring peace. If you want peace, you must first come with peace. Why would
Okay,
you
let
be
me
standing on the
take this.
street? Why would you be standing on the street with megaphones and hollering slurs and ad hominems and calling
Yeah.
people murderers and stuff and not have a single solution or be able to
You're
pinpoint the actual
assuming they don't
problem?
have solutions. What are these solutions? Yes, you go, Kat. Please do.
Okay.
I just want to
Okay.
restate that you're assuming that all of them are out there with ad homs and they have no solutions. That's an assumption inherent in what you're saying, and I don't accept it yet. Kat.
Okay.
And I'm going to drop out and come right back.
Okay.
I lost my video here, so I'll be right back. And I understand that, Joe, but I'm just expressing my personal experience.
I do,
Everything
and
I've
we're
watched.
gonna examine it. It's the
I'm
perfect
going to try to
timing.
change your mind when you come back.
Yes, it's how a sign is a symbol. I believe that the same way I walked in here, because in my life a lot of this stuff has been repeating, and it was a lesson for me to learn. The fact that you came in, me and you talked about the guru, what he would say about protest, and the timing that he just happened to have a video. Damn it, now Kat's gone.
Yeah, she'll come back.
Yeah, she had computer issues too. This is perfect time. When I was telling her, she was just talking about our friend. His name's Guru, and he believes that protests are a waste of time. I don't know if he says go through diplomatic channels or whatever, but he does believe they're a waste of time. And I thought she proved, or at least gave good evidence, that they do through a thing. The first thing you need to do is to recruit people, in my opinion. And the way you do that is you set them on fire. You know, you can't do negative shit, horrible. So the first step that I would do would be to protest. I go out with 100 people in front of City Hall. I would not burst windows and you know, and just sling ad homs and do those things, which I've been to many protests, and
Can
that's
I?
not what we do. Yeah,
I know. Can I point out a better solution though?
yeah, please.
Rather than doing a quote protest, do a community gathering and education seminar on local democracy, something like
Here's a
that.
yeah, that's a
Don't do
good
it at
thing.
don't do it at City Hall. And in that education, you'll be able to educate the people in the community of what's actually going on in that branch of government that they may not be aware of. Those are
Here's
the
a
people that are going to start standing up.
here's the problem with that. Uh, First of all, there are a lot of people who do that, and people don't come out for that because you've lit no fire under them. It'll take 20 years, then you'll have a group of people who understand what the fuck you're talking about. If you want to cut that fast, you go out there and you get seen on every fucking channel and stuff because you went to City Hall where the media spotlight is, and you're yelling out your cause and shit. Now people who didn't even think about it, what are these people out here for? Now you got them thinking about it. Now you've opened a door, and people would be willing to have a class in the park while I teach them about these things. I still think that means protest is good. Kat, you were going to say your argument.
Yeah, sorry, I was having problems with my tablet, so now I got on my phone. Okay, so first of all, this started with the students, and they are trying to, you have to, it's a process. So it has been all these years, we've been lied to by the MSM. I know the truth, but my neighbors and my friends didn't know the truth, had a completely different idea of what a Palestinian was and who a Palestinians are, and what the cause is, because the people that own the media have been lying and taking away the facts all this time. So
I think we're in agreement so far. We're all in agreement so far.
There needs to be an adjustment period of getting people to realize that when they're listening to the MSM, they're not getting the truth. So, and then on top
What's
of
this
that,
got to do with protest?
hold on. On top of that, the students were asking for two things. Now, I don't know how they're going to achieve a ceasefire by their protests, but they were asking their colleges, their universities, to divest from any investments in Israel.
There you go.
That
Solution.
was what they
Very
were
good.
trying to do. So that was their solution, was for that, right? And that was in the aim of stopping the genocide.
What do you
And
think? Was
there's
it?
no,
Hold on. Don't go too far.
hold on, Joe. And so by making what you say, to petition your government, that does nothing, but because the government doesn't give a shit about any of this. They are already complicit.
I agree with
They are
Kat.
partners in the genocide. It's part of their own aim. The United States government is the ones who are really committing the genocide against the
You
Palestinians.
think they don't know? You're
So,
going to go in there and tell them something they don't know if I just talk to the right people and put in the right papers?
But when it gets on into the media, even the mainstream media, of what they're doing, then everybody else who's sitting on their couch who really didn't have any opinion at all starts thinking about their own opinion and starts saying, well, wait a second, we didn't know this, we didn't know this, and we didn't know this. Now, calling people names is a murky thing, right?
Yeah,
so to say that they're murderers I think is completely
clear. That's not a problem.
but at the same time, to say to call individuals names and stuff like that, that starts to get a little bit gray, right? Yeah. So I don't know what you were hearing in Iowa, but from what I've been hearing about the protests, they are on point. And this is the only way to do it, is to raise awareness amongst the people, because the government doesn't give a shit.
Right, Wizard, she's got good arguments. This is how you raise awareness, and the government doesn't give a shit. You petitioning them, going to them directly. They don't give a fuck about you ever.
Right in the garbage, right into the garbage can.
Exactly. So why would you do a protest out in front of City Hall?
Because it will start to make people thinking about who they're going to be voting for. Because is it going to be Genocide Joe or is it going to be Genocide Donald? right?
You get
Listen.
Don't get stuck on City Hall. That was one of my examples, but most of these things are done all over the place. Colleges, because they get all the attention right now. Not just City Hall, but the protests, getting eyes on. It's effective. These people were unaware until they saw those truckers out there, or they saw all these people marching in the streets.
Yeah.
Out on the highways and running through towns and stuff, not standing in front of a city hall. Again, like I said earlier.
But don't fuck City Hall. We can throw it out.
Again, that's what I'm saying. Why would you do it at City Hall when there's a better venue out in the open public eye of the very community? Instead of going down to the city
public.
Go back.
Again, if you go to City Hall impromptu and you expect anything to happen, the only ones that are watching you are the City Hall members. Okay,
No.
if you want to.
The MSM is going to show up too if you're at City Hall.
I'm going to remove you if you don't stop interrupting me.
Relax a little bit, Wizard. Give her a little leeway. Please, I'm asking. And she did have a good point, but let him finish his thoughts if you can, Kat. She does have a good point. The cameras, no matter where you do it, is less important than the fact that you're out there doing it. And what other place that you had that was better? That's what you were going toward.
Again, when you learn how to organize first, again, instead of just having these impromptu protests, you organize events like the trucker rally that went across the nation, town to town. Okay?
You're assuming that these are impromptu protests. You don't know what went into these protests before they occurred.
That's what they're showing. That's what they're exhibiting.
I would say some that you see, but the ones I see at the colleges, these students have thought it out. In fact,
again, those are very major protests. Again, it's going to take a lot of convincing for those police that are still arresting those protesters. If you have a peaceful event that is already planned, they can't do anything about it. And the people that you're going to attract are going to be a whole different crowd.
You'd say that if you have a peaceful protest, they won't attack you. I've been to many. I was at some point for a day. I mean, like many protests. And the only ones that went bad were when the police provoked us, when the police cut us off, split us up, encaged us in. The only time we were peaceful is when the police are provoked. So just because you go out there peaceful doesn't guarantee a thing. And I got videos of many to show you that.
Okay, so the premise is that because it doesn't guarantee, even though it does happen, we've seen peaceful protests just as well as we've seen violent ones. Okay, so it does happen. So it doesn't preclude that it can happen. But the best choice is to go ahead and do it in those venues where it will get violent.
What were those venues? I was curious.
Again, my suggestion is if you're going to be in small crowds where they're going to come in and arrest you, why do it? If you're going to be unorganized, if you're going to be unorganized, why do it? Therefore, the premise, again, a gentleman announces his presence. If you want equity, you come with equity. You give them the first duty in law is legal notice. Hey, we're coming forth as people, and we're going to educate the community. Do not violate our right to educate others.
Are you sure that all protests that I've ever been to have done that? The police are there. They've been given notice. In fact, that's how we already mark down the street, because we tell the police in advance. We give notice.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that goes with the opposing parties. If they want to go in and start running their banter, they have to have a permit to enter those same premises, knowing that their intent is to be an opposing party.
As logic.
And generally that's not allowed, is it?
It's not even thought of. Most people just show up spontaneously and fuck
exactly.
You. What the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. Spontaneous is my point.
It doesn't change anything we said, but I do agree with you.
Exactly. So again, the better premise is to go prepared, not spontaneous, not coming forth with a foundation of what the problem is, a solution to it, and a way to affect it. Go ahead.
No,
The
no.
Palestinian protesters were largely peaceful. It was the Zionist anti-protesters who came in and started violence, and they didn't get arrested. The pro-Palestinian people got arrested, and there is scores of evidence that
That's
to the
a
fact
good point.
that the Palestinian protesters are being singled out because they weren't doing the same thing for the people who were protesting on behalf of Ukraine, but they're doing it for the people who are protesting on the part for Palestinians. This is a deliberate attempt to make the Palestinian protesters look like shit. And I
That
don't
is
know
a
how
great
many.
point.
And I don't know how many pro-Palestine people are in Waterloo, Iowa, but there might not be that many. So maybe it's going to be a small protest. That doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to get on the news or be recognized.
Yes, because you don't know going out there which ones are going to blow, which ones are going to encourage the next guy to blow. So you got to go to everyone.
I put it right here on the internet. Of course I know it's going to get video. I want it to get video. I want people to see opposing dynamics. I want this message that I'm put out, and I use them as that opposing dynamic. Why do it spontaneous?
I like this. Our fundamental principles are centered on independence and liberty, not associations and political parties. I think he's echoing me and Ms. Cat. I think he's saying that you go out and express your individual liberties is getting them involved. It's got nothing to do with getting them involved.
No, not at all. It's a matter of being able to enforce your own general powers and authority to have an effect. So again, it would seem logical in my mind that if I want to have that kind of effect, I better do my due diligence to make sure, not just do shit that's spontaneous and might cause me harm.
I think the majority of these protesters, you don't get up and go out there. The majority, unless you feel a certain way, and that's because you've done some diligence. At some point, you get a bunch of idiots that's just joining the pack and drunken idiot types. But the people who start all of these things and organize all these things, and they all have done their homework. No one is going out there. You can't even organize a protest, certainly not a big one, unless you've done a lot of homework and you've swayed a lot of people by doing what you said, small gatherings, swaying motherfuckers to your side before you can even have a protest.
Yeah, and again, this relates again to the nefarious use of this organization and stuff, and we see that with BLM. I mean, there was one that grandly organized and used it to their advantage, and I urge the people to do the same.
I think BLM worked out to our advantage, though. I would agree that everything reeks. Its organization, the guy who founded it, the chicks who founded it, the money, the way they handle it, all of that shit.
Tiffany Henyard.
Yes, it's Tiffany Henyard shit. However, we hijacked that quickly on and made it anti-government. BLM spawned every protest afterward. It went worldwide. People hit the streets. The truck thing doesn't happen without BLM. So that protest still works. Yeah, you'd have never hit them streets unless we did it first and encouraged you. That's right.
Not true.
I said it.
The protesters weren't, I mean, the truckers weren't even doing it on behalf of the people. They were doing it on behalf of them because they were being required to have shots to be able to go across the border. Some of them didn't want their shot. And so that's why that was made.
But that's irrelevant to this. And my argument is that they don't have the courage to go out there and protest unless they saw the world do it first. Australia, Europe, every country, Canada was out there protesting. So they knew what to do. And it gave them the courage because other people are doing it. That's my point.
You forget about the Vietnam War. My mom was out there protesting the Vietnam War in the 60s.
I haven't forgotten about the Vietnam War or other protests.
Okay, so that it's an age-old thing now. But as far as City Hall goes, City Hall is public land, and it's there for the public to create.
That's the best reason to go there.
And that's the best place to go is City Hall because it's the central place for that place.
Good point. Yes, very good point. I agree. Fuck yeah.
And I
what
don't see
didn't
why we
think of
need
that.
permission from our leaders to be able to
I
fucking
would
protest.
agree. In fact, that seems like a slip up on our part. In fact,
Yeah.
I can remember going with some group that I was part of, Austin, South Austin Community Coalition was the name of the group, and I was working with them, and I had been doing protests. I was young, and we were gonna. He was like, "We're gonna hit City Hall." I was like, "What?" In Chicago is different. City Hall is the mayor's office on the 50th floor of a building somewhere. You know,
Yeah.
it's great. So I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be great!" And I get up there, and the police were courteous and so and so. The staff was there to meet us. They had a meeting. And when they left out of there, yeah, the group that I was with, I'm like, what the fuck was that? I was furious. I'm like, did you guys call him and tell him in advance? Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck good does that do then? The same shit now. Why I don't feel that calling these motherfuckers and telling them blah blah. I don't know. It may be. I could be wrong. It may be, but I don't think that's the way to go, man. To
City
get
Hall
your point
belongs to
across.
the people. City Hall belongs to the people. It's public land, whether it's a corporation or not. It's public land. It's a public corporation then. So,
Better
and
place to
people are
protest
not
then. It's my
people
shit,
are
not
not
yours.
people are not just citizens of a city. They're also citizens of a town, or I'm sorry, of a province or a state, and they're also citizens of a country, and they're also citizens of the world. And so, if that's the common place where people would coagulate,
Gather, yeah.
then that's the place to go, and the
Good
highways,
argument.
and
Great
wherever.
argument. Great argument. In fact, there's enough of us to do all of these things, right? And we need and better be doing all these things. We better be hitting the colleges. We better be hitting the schools. We better be hitting the city halls and other government institutions. Everybody, we need multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
And that's what benefit us most.
So instead of titling it a protest, educational seminar would go over much better.
Yes, that's semantics though, and I prefer protest because I prefer the emotion that comes with it. Maybe that's a failing on my part, but I prefer it.
Okay, so in reference to protest, that's the physical thing, and we know it's not a matter of actually getting physical with people. We just want corrections to be made. So
I do not want it physical. Yeah.
So corrections, protest going to physical actions, contest goes to the remedy of corrections.
Agree. Contest where? Contest how? Just period.
Yeah, the factualness of the record as it's been. Greetings, Tribe. How you doing tonight, brother?
Hello.
Doing great, great. I just wanted to. I felt like I had to chime in a little bit on the conversation here because it seems like they're kind of outnumbering you here, and there's some points here that I think that Wizard's trying to get across. He's getting a little too uptight about it. I think we need to just listen a little bit more deeply about what he's kind of getting at, and I'd like just to step in, try to throw in my 2 cents.
If you could pause for 1 second, new guy, Christopher Real.
Yeah, he's still spinning. He's
you
still
might want to
spinning.
back out and come back in. You're just you're failing to connect.
He's
in a loop.
He probably can't hear you.
Oh, that may be true too. Try it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he'll do it. Christopher's a good man. But yeah, one thing I want to mention is in reference to what I said earlier. You know, I went through my last court trial here 8 years ago, and I was acting like a belligerent combatant and not very nice about things. So that was my protest. I've gone to the mode of contest.
I like
let's get it, but let's make sure we do it maturely. And if we are going to defeat an opponent without fighting, that is supreme excellence.
I even see why you said the things you said, although I think you were saying that protests are ineffective, but I certainly see why you said it, because you saw people acting out, and you know that action is not only ineffective, it's wrong and that type of shit. I get
Correct. I know the moral character and what I was purveying in that emotional state when I was doing it. I've reflected back on myself. I am my greatest critic. Believe you me.
I think on an individual basis, you can be that tame about it. But for instance, with the Palestinians, they've been trying and trying and trying to do things with the rule of law. And they're following the rule of law, but Israel isn't. And time after time after time, no matter how peaceful the Palestinians have been about it, it doesn't get them anywhere. So at some point,
That's good.
you have to do something that's bigger. And so if it ends up, I would rather boycott and divest, but now it's too late for that because Palestinians are starving and being bombed to death. So there's no more time for this peaceful protest. I mean, protests, yes, should be peaceful, but there's no more time for battling this in a peaceful way. It now has to be handled in a violent way. There is no other choice.
Let's let Trav get in there.
Well, yeah, I have a question though. I mean, when you say the Palestinians, I mean, they're a pretty diverse group. There's Christian Palestinians, there's Jewish Palestinians, and there's Muslim Palestinians. And I think that each of those groups have very different end goals and visions for what that area and their lives and humanity should be.
That's a lie. I'm not you. You're not lying.
Be nice. Be nice.
Yeah. Sorry, you're not lying. But the MSM is lying to you. They don't have a different. The Jewish Palestinians, they were chased out too, just like the Arab Palestinians. I am from my family. My family name is recorded in the times of Jesus. Therefore, my family would have known Jesus. My family were Christians before there were Christians.
How does that add to the argument of his that different people think differently?
But
I think he's on solid footing here.
There is no different aim for Christian Palestinians, Muslim Palestinians, or Jewish Palestinians. We all have the same aim, which is to have Palestine back. Because we were living
some of the same aims.
Well, let me just say something. May I just say something here? Just a point of fact that I know many people that are Palestinian and they don't share the views you have. So right away, I can't take what you're saying at face value just from my own personal experience. I think you're assuming that people all have a homogenous world view and a homogenous family view and a homogenous view of morals, and they don't. And I think that's the fact that's demonstrated daily by watching the actions of people, not what they proclaim and protest, but what they actually do. And I think, you can't contest that.
Well, I think I need more specifics because the only difference I've seen, and I'm 57 years old, the only difference I've seen between what the aims are is that some believe in a two-state solution because they've given up, and some believe still in a one-state solution. Otherwise, I don't see what
the beliefs. The beliefs are playthings of children. So you're talking about people that aren't even really. They're still minors. They're still infants in their mentality. If they're stuck in beliefs like fairy tales, that if they can't make objective judgments for how they take actions in the future and consider their posterity, they never really grew up.
Give me
and that's the problem, that they're not competent to manage their own affairs, their own finances. That's why they run to the government. That's why they run to the municipal city hall to solve their own problems, because they're not. Here's what it really comes down to. They have an inherent fear of independence and consequently a fear of rationality, which is why they can't face the facts.
Who's they? Who's they?
All the people that think the mainstream media affects me in any way, or Joe Cool or El Perro in any way, because it doesn't. We don't pay attention to that. And those that do are, again, making assumptions about others that aren't necessarily accurate. And to make further assumptions based on those inaccuracies just lead to more confusion, not facts or not any kind of resolution, for what we're dealing with here.
I would assume that he is as wise as us, Kat, and he knows the stumbling blocks of mainstream media. It's a bit insulting.
No, well, hold on, though. There are many of us who know not to listen to mainstream media now, but when we were growing up, we didn't know that. And also,
who's we? Hang on a second. I never believed. I mean, since Nixon, I don't think anyone believed the mainstream media. And so if you did, I don't know where you've been living in Disney World your whole life, but the rest of us haven't been in a mason jar. We've been pretty much aware of this.
I don't know why you're so fucking insulting. I'm telling you that the main group of people that almost all the people in the West have been brainwashed by not only the news, but also by movies and TV and different things that enter our culture. And those are the same people who vote for Genocide Joe and think there's only two parties to vote for, and all the same things that I'm so mad I can't
So,
think
so
of
I have to
Yes, you
find
gotta
I have to
calm
find
down,
God
Jeff.
through Judaism, Christianity, or Muslims. There's no other way to
I
find
don't.
God.
I don't. I'm not a Christian. My family are Christians since before there were Christians, but
But
I'm
what
not
does
a
that mean to
Christian.
me? I mean,
I
that's
love
all
Jesus.
hearsay. I have no evidence that any of what you say. You, let's say, records, but that's all hearsay. You weren't there. You don't know. You have no firsthand knowledge for
It's
you to
on the
proclaim any of this.
census. It's
Well, I
on
can
the
take it for
census.
what you say, but I don't know you, and your validity
Okay.
of what you're
Why
stating
am
is
I why
hearsay.
am I lying?
Okay.
Why would I
And
be
real
lying?
quick here, hold up, because you mentioned one term there, and I want everybody to understand. I don't care where you're at. That one term census is a false record.
One term, what?
Census.
Census.
That's going to indicate a false record. Okay? Let me explain. Those are dependent upon citizenships. In the United States, you cannot be a United States citizen unless you are recognized as a United States business, and you have to recognize yourself as a United States business by knowing that a United States business means a United States citizen.
So I heard when she said citizen 18 times and I let it go, and I would expect that you remembered it too.
I don't know how
And I think what Wizard's referring to, if you don't believe him or not, is that it's actually the business that they claim for you is a sole proprietorship.
Okay, I'm talking about 2,000 years ago, so I don't know that they worked that way 2,000 years ago.
Oh, Romans worked this. Where do you think we got this from? They didn't think this up last night.
Matthew was a
Roman
tax
civil
collector.
code.
Yeah, Matthew was a tax collector, and today in America we follow the exact same tax code.
Even the roots of common law go back to Roman times.
So what was
Our
our
name-
argument in the
Our
beginning?
name was registered on whatever you want to call it over 2,000 years ago, meaning and I already know my family's been there forever. So I don't know what the hell you're arguing
Whatever
about.
you call it,
Here's the
whatever,
argument.
register
This
mean
was the
nothing to me.
argument. The original argument was that he was saying, you were saying all Palestinians share the belief, and he was saying, I know some personally that have a different belief.
Yeah, but it doesn't say what
You would
their
agree
belief
now
is.
that not all Palestinians share the same belief, which to me, you were out on the limb to begin with that. Would you agree with that now?
I say, obviously, I have to make blanket statements because we're talking about millions and millions of people. So I have to make blanket statements.
No, blanket statements are they're just as ineffective as any other kind of assumptions and presumptions and
You're arguing
prejudices.
about tiny little things.
No, really. If you say most Palestinians, the argument from there on would have been totally different.
Okay, most. I don't even remember
You
when I
agree
said
with that
all
tribe
Palestinians.
that most Palestinians are on accord with the same belief? You agree with that?
I won't say I can agree with it, but I definitely won't deny it 100%. Like the last statement saying that all of them think one way.
Okay, I didn't mean to say they all think one way. I meant to say that what Palestinians want is their homeland back.
Generally speaking, I would assume
Some do, and some might not. I mean, there's a lot of people that left their homeland are much happier on America than their original homeland.
Then they're not
I'm not saying
Palestinians
that's
anymore.
for them, but you can't speak for people you don't know.
Then they're not Palestinians anymore. They're residents of whatever country they live in, and they go by whatever country they live in. So they're not Palestinians anymore. They're of Palestinian descent, but they're not Palestinians anymore.
I would give that some pushback. If I was born and raised in an indigenous American here, just because I'm over in Africa, that doesn't leave me somehow.
What are you saying, Joe?
A lot of Palestinians, were pushed over borders that weren't very much different than their original homeland.
Yeah.
So geographically, it wasn't too different, but little by little, they had to get out of that area because it just
For a
got worse and
long
worse.
time, they've been pushing them.
They got
Yeah,
chased out.
so it's a lot of people that claim to be Palestinian never really grew up there. Maybe they grew up in Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. There's other areas there where they still had to retain their original culture, that was their homeland. They were just pushed away from it. So it's a lot different than being born on America.
Yes,
They
most
were
of them left as
forced out.
refugees. Yes.
They were forced out, and they have the right of return by international law.
His point
So
is
they
that
are-
they are still Palestinian, even though they reside in other countries. That's his point.
Well, only if they want to be. If they decide that they don't want to be Palestinian anymore and they like being American, for instance, then they're not Palestinian anymore. They're just
What if
of
they
Palestinian
what if they
descent.
decide, I'd like it here in America, I like my friends, but you know what? America has a shitty government as well. I'm gonna help them battle them. My friends are back there battling the Palestinians, so and so. Suddenly they're not Palestinian.
If
That's
they
not
don't
logical.
want the right of return, then no, they're not.
All
If they
right.
do want the right of return, then they are.
Well,
We're
I
really
think
going
there's
into
enough.
people's head.
Hey, there's enough facts at hand on dispute here that should be debated rather than assuming people's intentions
Yes,
and
we're
such
in
that we don't
people's
know.
heads now.
I
Yeah.
think
I
this
mean,
is
look at the
how
land fact. Look at the land fact. Is that when did anyone surrender land? Was anyone
no,
defeated
they
in a
were
war?
chased off. They were chased
Well, hang
off
on
or
a second.
murdered.
I mean, is that piracy? Is it theft? How do you want to label it then? You
Yes.
got to be articulate about it. Well, which?
It doesn't matter what you call it. It's
Calm your
evil.
energy.
It's evil. You want to argue about tiny little fucking things for no reason.
Hey. We're gonna keep it calm, respectful.
He's
Please
insulting.
change your energy. Take agency for your own energy and stop telling what he's doing to you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. But please continue.
They were stolen from. So you want to call that theft, then go ahead and call that theft. But it's also murder because they were murdering people and chasing people off their land. So it's not
stolen
that they
and theft is what she's saying.
Yes.
All right.
I would
Well,
certainly wouldn't argue it.
So I get it, what you're saying here, right? But at the same time, what are the claims being made? That it was stolen, that it was piracy, that they just were pushed away by force? I mean, how was it done? Because theft isn't robbery, and theft doesn't necessarily involve. Let me finish my sentence here.
It done?
You need to make a distinction here because robbery is going to involve some kind of force like that, right? Theft is just taking away someone else's property. So if you can't make these distinctions, hang on a second. It is about the details because when you get down to this and you're talking about people's putting their lives on the line, you better damn well put the details on the table. And
So how'd they leave? No. Hold on, before you yield. You were saying robbery is one thing. That's when you go in there and force a motherfucker out. So is she right by saying that it's robbery? You agree?
I want to present your argument of which one it is, what the distinction is, why you're picking robbery over theft over piracy, because they're each distinctively different. I have my views on it, but I'm curious about yours because you're very adamant about what you're professing. I'm still on the table.
I think all of them cover it so far. Robbery,
but they're not. No, they're different words. Listen, no two words have the same meaning.
Yes,
the words
you will
have
give me the
different meaning.
distinctions in a minute. But is it robbery? When if you strong hand to take a motherfucker shit, I'd call that robbery the way they took that land. Is it piracy? That'd be pilfering off a motherfucker, but they still say that stay there. So that may be a bad one. Theft, yeah, I go with theft. That we're in the strong arm shit. Some of the words I think cover it, some may not.
I don't know how piracy has never ever been a word that's been used in this until just now. I've never heard.
Well then that's your problem because that's actually probably the most prominent one to be considered. But that's because you're not looking at it from all the angles that all the players would be looking at it as if
it's piracy in your opinion. Please explain to me piracy. I think of piracy as I'm traveling down the road, some cop comes over, take my money, and I continue traveling. And they take your shit, or they may kill you. But that's piracy. They don't push me out of the United States.
Piracy is not relevant, and the way you describe the difference.
Piracy is an enterprise.
The way you describe the difference between robbery and theft, then I'll go with robbery. Okay, so how was it exactly robbed and when? When was the scene of the crime? Right. 1917. Balfour Declaration. They wanted to get rid of the Jews in Europe, so they funneled them into our land in Palestine. And then by 1948,
how is that robbery though? That sounds. Wait, hang on.
The second half is the robbery. Listen.
Stop interrupting me, and I'll tell you. When in 1948, they convinced the United Nations to give them that land, saying that there was nobody living on the land. And they took the land, and then they forced with their gangs, the Stern gang, and there was another gang. They used the implements. What do you call the British military equipment that they left there. They used it against the Palestinians, and they chased and murdered them off their property.
I saw the letter. It was from a Rothschild. He said, you know, in the holy name of so and so, and so it's a long introduction about how great they are. We
That's
declare
Zionism.
this land to be so and so.
Yeah, that's Zionism, but we're talking about the Balfour Declaration of Britain, because in World War I,
Oh, I'm
after
talking
World
about
War
when Britain gave it over. It was the letter was presented.
I'm just
by
waiting to hear
Rothschild.
where they were strong-armed and pushed away at gunpoint, like the Indians were driven off in the Trail of Tears, that kind of
You
thing.
didn't
When
know
did that
that's
happen?
how they got pushed out? That's they've been
That
going on. They've been
happened-
pushing them out for years, like
Oh my
75 or something.
since 1948.
Okay, well, you know, the concept of adverse possession is that, you know, if you have claim to property, you have to be able to defend it. And if you don't, then you've given it up. So, I mean,
That's a totally
I'm not trying to
different
pick
argument.
sides. I'm just being
We
very
said
objective.
that earlier. There were two things. Guru said you give it up, and the other ones you fight for it. So those are two separate
And the
arguments.
Palestinians have never given up. They have always fought for
They
it.
are fighting for it now.
Always, 76 years and more. They've been fighting for it. They never gave it up.
I dig it.
Well, again, I mean, you just have to look at what we're doing. If you're fighting that long, you got to think about, reassess what are you doing, because you're
No,
not
you
getting
don't.
good results.
No, you don't.
I mean,
No, you don't.
poor results over how many years of poor results? You got to change your tactics or
We don't
strategy,
know
something.
yet because we don't know yet because Britain was in that same so and so, and they probably did change their tactics, and it was done for. And they got back. Russia was done for. Russia was done for. Somebody was pushing them. Germany, in that winter, changed things. But there are any instances where they look like now the Palestinians are done for, making a horrible decision, but we don't know because of our protest. We're going to set the world on fire, and someone comes in and awareness wakes up, and we stop people from killing every fucking body, indiscriminate bombing and shit at least.
Well, personally,
Palestinians have tried different tactics over the years, many different tactics, but we never gave up. And giving up is not in our blood. We're not going to give up.
Yeah.
You're going to have to kill us.
Okay.
All right, that sounds nice. Well, I guess there's nothing more to discuss then, because it seems like it's just going to go on forever. If you're losing and you don't mind losing, then you're just going to keep beating your head into the wall, and then, you know, it's just going to be the nature of the beast. I mean, it's a self-feeding demon at this point. You know, I'll say this much: everything is as it should be. I think that these things that we're fighting and talking about, the rulers are laughing. They're sitting behind the scenes, both of them together, the Palestinian so-called and the Israeli so-called. They're just laughing at everyone fighting. And behind the scenes, they've got their mineral resources planned. They've got their human resources planned, and you're not part of it. And you're just talking about nonsense right now. You've been excluded this long. You've been marginalized, and you're going to continue to be if you keep that mentality. If you don't speak up and realize that the land was taken just like the courts are taking land from people right here, you don't see what's right in front of your face is the same thing happening to you and me and everyone here on this land if we don't stand up for ourselves here first. Just like you give a baby the mask on an airplane when it's going down last. You got to put it on yourself first.
What do you mean so-called Palestinians? What does that mean to you, so-called Palestinians?
So-called Palestinians is this figment of your imagination that they're a homogenous group.
No.
Like saying Americans are homogenous or British are homogenous. Nobody is. And these labels are false labels.
That's a good point.
And the false labels only fuel the fire.
You're attributing that to me. There's no, it's so-called Palestinians is so insulting. This is what I mean by
I think the homogenous application to a diverse group is insulting. You know, really, I think it's narrow-minded.
Palestine is a country, and the people that
belong to
Palestine.
And the people are not the country. The people are humans, just like you, me, and they all have different attitudes and different goals and different desires in their lives and different expressions of their humanity.
So-called Americans, I wouldn't have had a problem with it because a lot of people don't even believe in that America shit and borders and shit. So-called Americans would have been okay. It's okay for Palestinians. There's certainly nothing to fight about or get upset about.
No, it's part of the disease that has that the West has about Palestine. is this whole thing about so-called Palestinians. What the hell is that?
So you're saying he's being disingenuous right now. He meant something else. You're saying he means
Yeah, you're
that,
fixated on territories, and I'm talking about taking each person individually as they are, as people, not as some
There
kind
are
of
millions.
citizen of a label of a place you want to call it. Listen, these borders were written by man. Okay, they weren't like enshrined in the land itself. And for you to start attributing that to people's personal qualities is a leap of logic.
Okay, I'm not attributing it to people's qualities. I didn't say that every Palestinian is the same human being. We're talking about the cause of Palestine. That's a different thing than their individual aspirations.
Well, there's nothing but individual aspirations. If you're just ascribing to the association of a state, then you're just another corporate slave.
Dude,
I mean,
let me try to explain. You're doing it so well.
No,
And let me
wait a
try to
second.
explain
No,
his
Joe,
argument.
Joe.
Do you get his argument? That's the same shit that he is saying that, period. You call him motherfuckers U.S. citizens. He's saying you are wrong through the gate. And he has an argument. It's the same thing with Palestinians. You're calling them Palestinians. He's saying, you know, no, they're people. And you putting that label on them was going to stop anything from progressing. He has a strong argument.
No, hold on.
Very strong argument.
Let me answer him back because he keeps on interrupting me, but then I can't interrupt him, and then
All
you
right,
get
go
in
ahead. And keep your energy good.
So, what?
Keep your energy good. Remember your energy.
Okay, thank you.
Take your time.
Okay. Right. Perhaps you missed when maybe you were in the middle of joining and you didn't hear me say this, but Palestinians, and I'm talking about Christians, Muslims, and Jews, Palestinians did not believe in borders or owning land, but Palestinians believed that we were caretakers of the land, just like First Nations or what you call Indians. Did not believe in owning land. So we didn't make our borders. All the other countries around us made our borders. And by default, we ended up having borders. We didn't have borders before. So it's not about that. But now that we work in this corporate system and that corporate system is being used to kill us, we have to work within the same corporate system to get our land back, our territory back. And
so
this
you
has
say that your ancestors didn't believe in the land borders and all that, correct?
Correct.
So why do you?
Because we live in this corporate reality.
So you've given up on your ancestral heritage. You've adopted this. I get it. Yeah, that's very corporate of you.
Wow, you're just a troll.
That's a good point.
No,
He's a
no.
troll,
Not a
said
good
it, but it's a
point.
great point.
Hey, listen, he made a very valid point again to the defining of other people. You can't do that.
You can't work in the way that we used to work because that's how we got the land stolen in the first place. Because we weren't paying attention to any of that shit. We were just living our lives on the land. So when you don't pay attention, when I first came on here, I was
Okay, then
saying
pay
about that.
attention, because I don't care if you're Christian, Muslim, or Judaic. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me. This goes to the exact point you make about the Palestinians. And in all the land of your possession ye shall grant a redemption for the land. If thy brother be waxen poor and hath sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. So the true guilty party are those people that believe they've sold the land. How do you sell the land? If the land shall not be sold forever, for it's his. Again, reminding you that that's the very same principle you just pointed about Palestinians. They don't believe in borders. So let's go to the next one.
They're just hold on that one. They're just residents temporarily. Let's not get hung up in their Palestinians. It's a bit of a game mentality. You know that's always dangerous. This land, according to what he's saying, Trav saying, and Guru, is that this is just these things. All your possessions, not just the land, are just temporary. Don't bind yourself to them.
Correct. And then it says in Psalms 121, verse 8. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. And this is for the temporary status that we live in, both on earth as strangers and sojourners. sojourners traveling with him. What is wrong in this sense then of moving somewhere else? I think all people should be moving and not confining themselves to one place.
We can't
That's
see
just
that.
my
That you're reading, by the way. You're reading some more.
no. I was just reading that
Okay.
one sentence. That's my
Okay.
opinion. Is that I believe all people should be moving. That's just my
I dig
opinion.
it. I like it. And that's the way it seems. Certainly, I feel like I've become certainly more of an adult and smarter and wiser by not holding on to shit and going wherever the wind blows. I realize I haven't even left the country, but the same philosophy would hold if you find yourself in some other place. It's not necessarily a deficit, even if it hurts and all of that type of shit. God is still with you. It is part of the process. Carry him with wherever you travel, wherever you go. Don't get
Absolutely.
hung up. Don't get hung
It's a
up on this,
culture.
the West Side. I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna fight for the West Side. You know, y'all know where my
Being Palestinian is a culture. That means that everybody who's Palestinian, who wants to be Palestinian, wants to live like a Palestinian. You can't live like a Palestinian in America.
All right.
You live like a Palestinian you can't even live like a Palestinian in Egypt. You
But
live like a
isn't that
Palestinian in Palestine.
isn't that just a concept or an opinion or something? It's like
the way
me.
people
Wait,
wanna
it's
live.
just me. Wait, it's me claiming I'm a vice lord. As a kid and growing up in a gang, I'm a vice lord because I say I'm a vice lord and all of that. But wasn't that just a construct in my head the entire time?
Everything we live is a construct. On Earth, in the 3D, everything we live is a construct. And if I choose to live like a Palestinian in amongst other Palestinians who work the same way, live the same way, then that's where I choose to live. And
Well, you can't get mad at us for saying it's a construct. You can't get
I'm
angry
not
and say
being
it's
mad. I said
insulting.
everything's a construct. Time is a construct.
I mean, earlier when he gave his opinion, you got angry, and he is saying that what you say is just an opinion. It's your belief, and that's correct. That's always
reality on the ground. We were not able to keep on living like Palestinians because thieves and murderers and evil people came and robbed us of that. And we refused to
of
give
something
up.
you didn't own to begin with.
Of course, I know it to begin with.
I said of something you didn't own to begin with. They robbed you of it.
They robbed us of living like Palestinians together. And you would be just as upset if they did the same thing in the United States.
I'd be just as wrong if I were saying the same thing.
If the Chinese
they pushed me off because I'm a U.S. citizen, and that's why they pushed me off, and the U.S. needs to do that, I'd be wrong in my philosophy. That'd be mob mentality bullshit.
So if the Chinese comes in and they call in their markers and say, look, you owe us a bajillion dollars, and now we're taking over the United States because you haven't paid us. So now it's now a part of China. And now you're going to have to live like Chinese people if you want to stay in the United States. You're not going to fight back?
Am I going to fight back? Yes, I'm going to fight back. It won't be because I'm an American, because that's what men do.
What?
I'd fight back because that's what men do.
Joe, I think it's like this. You got to understand that Canada was founded on submission and compliance, and America was founded on revolution.
I was going to say the same thing. You know, it's the feminine and masculine aspect. Joe just mentioned that men are willing to stand up and fight it out. Women want to just be complacent, say, no, we better just go along with the rules.
Not Palestinian women. Not Palestinian women. Palestinian women are also for the cause. They're not allowed to fight, but they're also for the cause.
Wait a minute. They're allowed to stand up and fight for their feminist rights, right?
They don't need to stand up for feminist rights. Why are we changing the subject again?
You know, you're assuming he may have
what
a line
feminist rights got to do with it? I just said to you that you can't say that women aren't willing to fight for their country. It's just that we end up cooking for the people who have the guns. That's all. But it doesn't mean that we don't believe in fighting back.
Do y'all speak French?
What are you talking about?
You keep saying we. Are you speaking French?
Women. He's saying women and women in Palestine.
No, you keep saying we this and we that, and it's like, are you
I'm a
speaking
woman.
French? Okay, because I usually speak in the first person as I or me. I don't speak we in a group
We.
because in reality, the group is, again, your mental construct. It's not the reality. The
Again,
reality
you're
is that
picking on
people
nothing.
don't behave in homogenous
This
groups
is
as much as you
He
want them
said
to fit the label.
women. He said women. Women is a big
No,
group
you said
of people.
we.
And I
You also
said
said
we as women.
you said we as Palestinians, we as women, we as this, we
The
as that. And you're
Okay.
using that we a lot. I was just thinking you were speaking French and I was missing something.
Yeah, I
really.
think he's trying to reinforce that. You keep making the assumption, if maybe you're not saying it directly, that there is some unified we out there. I think that's
We said
inherent.
women and we said Palestinians. Therefore,
Right,
it's we.
but
If it's got to
there
do,
is,
when I said I love Jesus, I love Jesus, not we love
Well,
Jesus.
let me just
I
well
love
let me
Jesus.
well let me disclude one woman for sure, because my companion would never stand up. She knows it's best off to have me do it. Daddy's the one that does the protecting. She has
Daddy,
her jobs and her abilities, and Daddy has his job and his abilities.
your daughter
so
or your wife?
his point is perhaps some Palestinian woman feels the same way, and she feels like it's the man's job to do the fight, and she's got other responsibilities and duties.
No, well, what I'm saying is that women are still standing up for the for the resistance.
I
But it's just
understood
that
that
we're not
part.
allowed to. Women are not allowed to have the guns, right? We're
Well,
not allowed
that's
to do the
great. That
fighting.
was a great point Wizard said. Then Wizard
So
said,
why would
can
you
women
stand
stand
up
up for
knowing?
their rights? That was a
So,
great point.
so why would you stand up in a protest when you know men with weapons, as well as other women with weapons, have a likelihood of coming and hauling your ass away? Who is more capable?
It doesn't matter who's more capable. It
Yeah, I
matters
agree with
who's
That's
Kat.
right.
the insanity. That's the
It,
insanity. You
it
know
matters
that you
who's right.
don't have the capability, and therefore you do to assert that you are capable. You're not.
Wait, I would not say they're not capable, because I would say the majority of the protests I've been to are women, and the BLM just is neither here nor there. The majority, or 80%, some college did a study, were white people. But the majority of the people were women. If my shit from earlier, the protest made a difference, then women were part of that, meaning they are capable of making a difference. It might not be with the guns. They can get beat up easier than us, or whatever the argument is, but they can make a difference. It looks like that's been proven.
I have a picture of an old Palestinian woman standing in front, just like that picture in Tiananmen Square of the guy standing up to the tank. I've got a picture of an old Palestinian woman with her hand up saying to stop, but from this bulldozer that's coming to bulldoze down her olive trees. An Israeli bulldozer. So she stands in front. She stood in front of it. The Palestinian women do what they can, but they're not equipped to do the actual fighting. The men do the fighting. And that's why most of Gaza is half children. It's half children because the men have been killed.
Can we move the argument over here a little bit? The kind of the we that do it is talking about. More and more I've been thinking of this U.S. as a bad mentality. It's the same way I thought about gangs. I create the borders. Every time I say the U.S., we do that. We stand for this. We stand for that. It looks like I do way more harm than I do good. I need to start thinking plainer, right? Because when I say we U.S., a million motherfuckers stand up and say, yeah, keep those motherfuckers out of our country. Fuck, I didn't mean to do all that. It's because that's not a thing. It's the world shit, as Wizard was saying. You can travel the fucking world. That we shit, besides we know it's a construct, could be dangerous.
What is the American dream? What does that mean?
It's
May I
dangerous.
just interject for a second, and then I want to let Joe cool loose because he's about to do the cross-examination. Is what I've been waiting for.
Okay.
So what I want to say is this: is that when you talk about America, it's not the old concept, the old world concept of borders. America is, whatever you want to say. They had their bad sides of it, but the good side of the experiment, because nothing is absolute. There's going to be good with the bad, bad with the good. And the end result, the American experiment, right, was the first time civilization has even entertained the thought of individual liberties, to the extent that we actually get to provide our own arms and have an unobstructed form of redress of grievances to get repaired for any time we're harmed by the government. It's unheard of in the old world. So
Yes.
until you look at it as, if you want to see
Positive
borderless,
and
then think of
negatives.
America as the borderless expansion of an idea of individual liberties above government. And
That's
then
how
you'll
I think
start
of
to
it.
see the what America is about. When we talk about Americana, it's not about keeping people out, it's keeping ideas in and moving out. Remember, we're exporting our ideals in America because they're the best. Whether you like it or not, I'm a bit of you could call me a chauvinist if you want in that respect. But you know what? If America was so bad, why is everyone trying to come here from everywhere else in the world? And everywhere else in the world is like, no, we're not being lied to, because I could just look around me and see how many new people come in here every single day. I could go by even from the States, they come into where I am here, and from all over South America and North America. Why? Because
Everybody
here they
lives
can
up in
actually
America.
achieve their self-actualization, where other places, you know, the governments, the rulers come first because they always have.
I
And
had
I'll
an
remind
American
you
boy.
again, as these quote American national people that we are, it's the immigrants that are required to take a civics test and pass it, whereas the American people aren't taught civics. They're given a social studies class that touches on a couple civic topics but never expands. Think about that.
No, I'd agree with
I
what
had
I
a
thought about
I
it.
had an American boyfriend, and as a result, we had to cross the border every 6 months, and because I'm Canadian, so we had to cross the border every 6 months, and it was a harrowing experience for me every time, because I didn't have my own money, so they thought that I was going to escape into the United States. And one time they told me, "Well, what is it that would stop you from just disappearing into the United States?" I said, "I have a family, and all the people I know are in Canada. I'm only coming across here because I have an American boyfriend, and he has to spend 6 months back home. So that's the only reason." But they're convinced that everybody wants to be an American. I am so relieved that he's dead and I don't have to cross that damn border anymore.
That's part of that American
I
shit. It's
don't want
got
to be
its
an
good
American,
and it's got
and
its
most
bad.
people I know don't want to be an American. So this is just some PR that people also come to Canada. We have more open borders than the United States does.
Wait. But if you get motherfucking choice of Canada and America, I think anybody's going to choose America. And I don't think we can argue that America
I
is
don't choose
considered the
America.
gold standard of the world, generally speaking. Not every
I think
person.
it's better in Canada than in the United States.
Not you per se. Generally speaking, America is looked at as the land of the free, the place to be. Generally
Only
speaking, we can agree on that.
because of the PR. But once they get
Because
here,
for whatever
they find out it's a
reason, we
different
can't
thing.
agree that, yes, many motherfuckers run over here for that train.
What proof is the PR? I mean, you just have to look around and look at generations of people that have been able to lift themselves out of poverty, where for generations in their homeland, they were stuck in poverty. They come into America, all of a sudden they're on America, and it's a land of opportunity. They didn't make that thing up, okay? That was earned.
The Americans that came over here were outcasts, a bunch of loser lawyers that nobody liked.
And we're not subjects of the queen or a king or whatever you want to call them.
Look under every highway and you will see tents of homeless people. And the American public are the sickest, as in health-wise, are the sickest people of the world. So
I mean, listen, you could live in your way of thinking, but that's not the reality I see around me. I see a lot of happy people here on America, and if they have relatives that are overseas, they can't wait to come here. When they come here to visit, they're always happy to be here, and they hate to go home. I don't know, maybe you just spend too much time there. Maybe you're afraid to travel. You know, get over your fears. Travel is very broadening.
It's not fear, it's reality. It's reality. And I don't
Well,
think
did your fear of crossing the border being such a harrowing incident ever come to reality?
They made me suffer many ways when I crossed the border. They made me pee my pants twice.
Oh, come on. Now you're stretching. All right, I'll just leave it at that.
I'm not stretching.
He
He doesn't know me, so he just assumes I'm some liar on the internet. The reason, Joe and I are not so close because I'm some liar or that I'm somehow ingenuine.
I'm not asking. I don't think you need to join Joe in our conversation.
Joe knows me.
I'm not talking to.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Be on your own. No, we.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we. I'm saying Joe knows who I am. So I'm
but
not.
that
That's
doesn't
irrelevant
matter.
because that's hearsay. That's hearsay.
He's
Yeah,
known me for over 2 years.
It doesn't matter. It
Right.
doesn't
Objection,
matter.
irrelevancy.
You still got to, stand on your own. That's what men expect from other men. Don't matter who brought you to the dance, all that bullshit.
No time for the fence, buddy.
Nah, okay, you're probably right, but
Thank
yeah, you gotta stand on your fucking own.
I
It's a
am.
given. These guys, to the way that they know me, they have their conceptions of me, and if I endorse you, that carries whatever weight it carries. However, just because you're a friend of mine doesn't mean you're gonna be correct about a thing or this or we gonna that type of shit.
Do you know me to be a liar?
It
Oh,
doesn't
good.
matter. We're able to make our own discernment, and we're not necessarily saying you're lying. We're saying we don't believe you.
This guy over here that I can't read his name, he is
The tribe?
telling me I'm a liar.
The tribe? You can't read the tribe?
No, I can't read the tribe because I have very bad eyes.
Ah.
See, this is what I mean. Like, you want me to have good energy and argue with you in a nice way, but the way that you're treating me is not conducive to that.
No, we're being
that
truthful
matters.
and honest. And
Yeah,
I
that
don't give a
matters not.
rat's ass if you don't like it.
That matters not. What comes out of their mouth. Suddenly, none of us are going to give you say it's okay to lose your agency. Wizard caused you to be angry. That's not even a thing. And
Who
every
is
time
Wizard?
whoever, that's Wizard's the other guy, Keith El Perro or Tribe, made you be angry because he said a thing. You lose credibility every time you restate that.
Okay, but what about they tell me not to interrupt, but then they interrupt me?
It happens. But you don't see these guys crying and getting all crazy and stuff,
And you
right?
don't
It
see me muting
happens.
them.
Well, I'm saying that your argument of he's making me do this is falling on deaf ears is gonna.
And you use that term they, and I don't know that I've ever interrupted you except when you interrupted me. So again, that's that first person speak that you need to learn. I don't like it much.
They is you and the tribe.
You and the tribe. When did I interrupt you? When did I interrupt you that you didn't interrupt me first?
I can't remember the exact times. We've been talking for what, an hour?
Yeah, his point is that you saying they've been interrupting me, Joe, and he's saying no, I've actually been pretty calm and patient. I haven't been interrupting you.
Yeah, well.
Look, the thing is this.
And that's no excuse nor is it an explanation. Yeah, well, that's the same thing that used to. Hey, that's the same thing that my daughter used to piss me off when she say whatever. Again, I don't give a fuck.
You want me to keep on arguing? Yes,
no,
you did.
I want you to
yes,
say something intelligent instead of well, sounds immature. You want a Socratic debate, then grow the fuck up.
Wow.
The guys, this is the right time and all of that shit. This is the shit you need to hear. And it ain't coming from me. This is the right timing and all of that shit. They are actually factual right now. Go ahead, Trev.
I was just saying that, it's better when we have this kind of a panel here to stick to, as you bring about a presumption or you're making a premise to, if it doesn't stand, that's where you may get interrupted if you continue a stream of presumptions that aren't necessarily true and then start to build a case on it. That's where there's an objection. That's where the interruption usually comes in. If you just keep your statements terse and allow rebuttal in between, you could go on as long as you need to if you're elaborating a point. But to go from one point to the next without an opportunity for rebuttal is disingenuous.
That's why I interrupted.
That's why I've been interrupting you a lot, Kat. I'm the guy who's doing most interrupting. I've just been trying to keep it brief, one part of your thoughts at a time so that they could respond.
That's why I interrupted, was because at the first time the tribe was saying something that wasn't correct, and so I was trying to interject and clear that up.
I understand that, and I would say too that sometimes, you know, you got to let it flow, because you got to let the idea build and see where they're going with it. You know, be a little
I
more
know, but if they
patient.
go on for a long time, then at
Yeah,
some
I'm not
point,
saying allow that. I am just saying, you know, if you hear something that's incorrect, first word out of his mouth, you cannot jump on it every
no, I
fucking
haven't.
time. All right.
I haven't. I've sat here and listened to things that were not true or were an ignorant.
What was not true that was spoken here?
I think the first time was City Hall. I think this was the point of City Hall.
Okay,
City
well,
Hall was not the
that was a good point. That's the one that kind of got me. Let's talk about City
and
Hall.
then you said redress the government, and I wanted to say that doesn't get us anywhere. That's like it's a
City
non-point.
Hall argument, Tribe.
So City Hall isn't the place to redress. I mean, if the officials there are not performing their duties, then you have to hold them accountable, right?
I shouldn't have used the word redress. Redress is the wrong word.
What?
Sorry, redress was the wrong word. It was protest.
No,
City Hall wasn't
at least in the American Constitution, Bill of Rights, there's nothing about protest. It mentions redress of grievances, and petition for redress. It doesn't say protest.
But I didn't mean redress.
So protest is an interpretation within the First Amendment.
Redress.
But the purpose of the First Amendment is not to make noise and scream and loud and publish this and say that, or to practice your religion. The purpose of the First Amendment is to protect the people, to secure those rights to do such things. And the only way you can secure those rights is if there's an apparatus to have it redressed or repaired should they be harmed. So the whole purpose of the First Amendment.
What is that apparatus then? Here in this particular case, what is the apparatus?
Our common law. Our common law, because the constitutional rights are secured rights, right? So they're going to stand and they're going to be evidentiary.
But if you don't have the muscle to protect them, then you don't have them. Kind of rephrasing what you said. And we don't have the muscle to protect common law or even call it common law.
I didn't say protect. I have to interrupt you. I didn't say protect. I said secured. And secured means that if you're harmed, then there has to be a method of redress, of reparation. You understand? And that is enshrined in our laws, in our process. However, as long as we want to debate about pointless, meandering nonsense and factoids, you never get to the essence of why we have a First Amendment, why we're supposed to petition for redress of grievances, and why we're supposed to demand our reparations when we're harmed. But it's up to us to do it as adults, not as minors, to ask it to be handed to us. And now I'll yield.
Let's give you that. Yeah, let's give you that, and that you're right. And it's ours, and we're going to go take it back. What does it look like? I think mine and Cat's position has many facets. One of them is standing in the most public place to show that I am a free person and put these cameras on me because these people are doing us wrong. That's the same shit I do every day on YouTube when I put out a video.
Okay, so let me explain the First Amendment as it goes to this process. The First Amendment gives us the freedom of association, freedom of religion, okay?
Yeah.
That's our observances, okay? In that, we have the right of freedom of speech to talk about our observances. We have a freedom of expression. In other words, to make an impression upon others. This is interactions with others. Then we have the right, right to assemble, gather.
Sounds like
protest. But what you just said was protest.
Peaceably assemble.
That's still a protest.
No, it's not. It is a peaceable assembly. That peaceable assembly, as it goes to the prior observance, speech, expression, and then that peaceable assembly, that's not a protest in my eyes. It's a contest. It's a contest because I'm not going to protest physically against another man in his official title. I'm going to contest the record, which is in error. This goes to the petition, which is a written document to the government.
It's toilet paper. A petition is toilet paper to the government.
That's a good point.
I beg to differ.
Again,
Woo!
again, it's enshrined in the very law on the paper, much above a much higher bonding grade than toilet paper. It's
No,
called
point
the
is,
Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution of the United States
no
of
one
America.
cares about that shit today. No one cares about your fucking constitution. Like you were telling us, no one cares. No one cares that you, what the law says I can do this. When I go to court, no one cares.
Listen,
Wait.
listen. The right to petition the government for redress of grievances goes to your competency to connect your observance with your freedom of speech and to go forth and express that in interacting with the community and peacefully assembling with them
Yeah.
so that you can draw up that petition and not come to arms.
Really?
The
So you
Second
think
Amendment.
the entire idea of this, of peacefully
Holy good.
assemble,
Wait,
is
Wizard,
to
can I just sum it up
draw
for
up
him
a
really
piece
quick?
of paper? Go
Let me
ahead.
correlate it with Sun Tzu, The Art of War. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. So if they're using the word against you on their paper, whether it be toilet paper or the Declaration of Independence, I don't give one fuck. A man is
Bottom line
bound
is
by his
this.
words.
Express is what Wizard's talking about, to express. And as it goes, and the maxim says, the spoken word flies, the written letter remains.
Okay, I'll give you that. But what you guys are equivalent of what you're talking about, the solution that you have is the same as Jack. If I can go talk to the right politician, then everything will work. You're thinking if I can get my piece of paper in front of the right person, everything will work. Where will your
No.
piece of paper go that will make my life better?
It's expressing the message everywhere you go, being sure that every word of God is pure and it is a shield on he who put their trust in God.
I agree with all of that, but is it effective in changing my life when I do it? Who else
It's
has
been
done
effective for mine.
Okay. So writing
Again,
that piece of
real
paper.
quick, I want to remind you once again, folks, though I'm passionate here and you see that passion, I'm not angry. But when I was in that courtroom in my last trial 8 years ago, I was very fucking angry. That's what I'm changing today. As you see in the city council meeting that I did a review on, I'm very calm and complacent. And that's all I'm doing is I'm expressing the message. That's it. It's not about me. It's about the communications, the message.
People submit paperwork every day. It does not change any laws for anyone, generally speaking, I'm talking generally speaking here, for the masses. And it's arguably less effective than the person who goes out there and protests it. You guys know the word you know what I'm talking about.
Hey, listen,
again,
I mean,
again, if you're going to go out there and protest physically violent terms,
who
it's
said
not
violent?
quite. You're going out there with all kinds of things that are making loud noises and everything, violating the very city codes and everything, stepping in front of people that are trying to travel down the road.
These
You
are
cannot
all
be
different
doing
things.
that. Right.
These are
They're
all
all
different
elements,
things.
and they're all elements associated with protesting. Again,
No. I don't think they're all associated with violence.
Again, they're associated with protesting, which leads to the violence of people getting out of their cars because somebody's standing in front of their car, or
You go
heaven
to a lot
forbid,
of protests, Wizard?
or no, I
Because
don't. I don't.
do, and I will tell you, 9 out of 10, more than that, really probably like 39 out of 40 or more, are peaceful. I don't know what protests you've been going to where you think violence erupts.
Again, and if it's not going to have an effect, why are you doing it? Peaceful or not? Again, just listen to me and listen to the words, please.
I heard you, and I understand you.
If you want equity, you must first come with equity. So if you want peace, you must first come with peace. This relates to the fact that if you want a result, you must first know what you've observed, be able to speak about it, be able to express it to others so they comprehend it, and then be able to peacefully assemble with everybody to draw up the final effect and solution. That means you got to be able to have an open mind to accept other fallacies, even of your own.
When these people gather, especially when they gather and walk around, this is what I'm referring to. Perhaps I'm using a word that you're interpreting it in the wrong way. But I am calling these these peaceful assemblies where you come together and you discuss your ideas on what's good, bad, and solutions, and you do it in a very public fashion. I'm calling that a protest. Those are a good thing.
Look, what the goal of the assembly is to come up with your redress, a correction of the wrongs and reparation. It means that as a petitioner, you deserve. Oh, we got someone new here.
Yes, greetings, Imperium Privatus. How you doing tonight?
Please go ahead, Pimp.
Yeah,
How you guys doing?
Good, good. Yourself?
Doing great. I was going to say to Joe's comment, deer in the forest get together. They don't get anything done. You leave the paperwork behind the action. As El Perro, Keith, and Tribe are putting forth. Without paperwork, you're not going to get anything done.
Your mic is really weak, but I think I hear what you're saying. If you do it silently in a forest, it gets nothing done. I think is what he was saying.
Right. So you got to make your word heard. My yea be my yea, my nay be my nay. But it's only supporting your actions.
But he's saying if you don't do it publicly, he's saying it's. I think he is saying that it's not so much the paperwork. You must do these things publicly.
Correct. And that's both in your actions and your paperwork. You have to give them notice that you're a child of God and you're not going to waver. You're not living your life in fear. You know their shit is fiction, and here's why.
Yeah, Eric, I think every time you see a protest, it comes across to those who have discernment of some form and fashion. They know that these people are speaking out because they're putting on the record that something wrong is going on, and it hits their ears, and they weren't even aware of a record, and now they realize that these people are doing wrong. If they're not protesting in the streets, they don't have a million YouTube people watching them and the mainstream cameras still on them. Just by getting together in a dark room and putting together a piece of paper and submitting it, doing it in public is way more effective.
Correct.
Joe, cool though. You got to look at it this way. You know about the rabble and rabble rousers?
I do know rabble rousers
and the mob
yeah.
and democracy and why it doesn't work is that there has to be a process. Listen, if left to our own devices, it ends up being man against man. And you're not going to like it when, roving bands of nomadic violent tribes come around and decide they don't like you. The whole purpose of this is that you need something bigger than all of us to protect or secure those rights, I should say, okay? And the fact that it's big enough to secure the rights means it could harm us too. So we have to have protection from that. It's complicated.
No, it is.
But you have to be independent and rational to understand this. Listen,
I understand.
I get the stewardship and the guardianship that people are enshrined to believe in. But the fact is, you have a choice. You could either go that route and be, have the ward overseeing you all the time, or you could take the responsibility, the risks and the benefits of being independent, which you have the choice to do here for the first time in civilization that's been known. But that choice is still yours.
We're back to dude, though. You're doing it in a forest alone. And yes, you've saved yourself, but many still suffer. Many are slaves unaware. And you going off in there doing it on your own saves you and your family and the media, whoever that went with you. But it doesn't help all these people over here.
Why not set up a petition and instead of gathering together, why are you not gathering the signatures?
Right. And see, that's the thing.
I've done that. It's so extremely ineffective when you gather the signatures, unless you, like you said, class action.
It's a referendum.
The gathering the signatures, I've done it. I've been all over gathering signatures, and I've been very effective at it. And it just gets you to see a higher up who's worse than the 50 guys it took to climb. He's 50 times worse when you come in front of him with those thousands and busloads.
And like I said in the previous videos, and like I said in the previous few videos about the bill of exchange and all that listen to Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill. It's telling you we're supposed to be going to the House of Representatives. Those are the people that represent the recipients of the benefit.
I would agree. You go to them how though? If I go to them and state
That's
my claim, even if I put it on a paper, it takes 50 years if I'm lucky for them to change one law. That is ineffective.
no, again, that's why you have to know this stuff privately for yourself so you can bring your remedy. I can't bring a remedy for anybody else.
But
And
the
that
man's talking
and
class action.
well, and that's part of the remedy. You can make a trust and have many people under it.
I think I'm gonna abandon you guys, man. It's been a
It's
great conversation.
yeah,
Hey, well,
and so it's an equal station with a class action,
oh, Joe,
but
cool.
it's
See
not
ya.
a class action. It's a private setup for a group of beneficiaries. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, what I think a lot of people fail to realize is that the country is set up within a trust, and it's a trust for all of the people and their posterity, and that includes us. And that trust has these trustees, which is our government, managing it throughout intergenerational, periods. However, that responsibility, that fiduciary duty of care, is always there, and it's up to us to hold them accountable to it. Crying and whining and wishing they'll act the right way doesn't do it. You have to hold them accountable. The way to do that is the redress of grievances. Now, how do you do that? There's plenty of writings about that process. I don't think I'm supposed to be here saying how to do it. There's many ways, and there's many ways to resolve that. But again, it's the research that
You know
people
what it
don't
is,
like.
Tribe?
Well,
It's
what
ignorance and lack of being dutiful into studying and learning how to do the process. Because they
right?
want things handed to them.
Yeah,
And
it's
if you don't know
basically
how to do if you don't know
it,
how
it
to do the process, you're just gonna frustrate yourself and start, I guess, acting in a belligerent way.
yeah, and if you don't first learn how to rightly divide the word of truth, then you're just going to continue to accept the lies and believing things. And that's the very base foundation of the problem. We've been taught to just willingly accept the lies and just believe that the government is going to do us right, and they're not. That's because
Well,
we've lost oversight.
I take it a little bit sharper than that, El Perro. I'd say that it's more that they've overlooked a lot of the caveats. What they're saying is maybe true, but it doesn't always apply, and they don't tell you that the exceptions, the caveats to what they claim. So their presumptions stand even when they shouldn't, because people don't think of why those presumptions were put there in the first place, and they even
Right.
apply in this situation in your particular circumstance. So that's a situational awareness too that people don't have. It's like, what situation am I in right now? Am I in a contractual situation? Am I in a some other type of obligation? Is someone else have an obligation to me or a duty? That situational awareness, I guess, is the foundation of knowing how to express any of your wrongs or your power that's legitimate. So back to
Right.
expression.
Right, and that's when it comes to that birth certificate, it's sitting in the state hands, and they've been dissing off the interest the entire time. And in fact, what's supposed to happen as settler, holder in due course, and of course the benefactor that can order it as the applicant intended to receive the benefit. Now I can receive that benefit and I surrender it. That's a specific term, surrender it to the United States to fulfill their obligation of full faith and credit under obligations and other securities of the United States to allow them to settle the accounts, clear all, make sure all creditors are made whole, and clear the accounts to zero balance. Guess who one of the creditors is?
Benefactor.
Yourself.
Oh, yeah. So, well,
Plus, you're
look
controlling
at this
it by
way also.
setting the terms and conditions of the trust indenture, and then
Yep.
relaying that trust indenture to the trustee, which is going to be the government or whoever you're appointing.
Yep, appointing a custodian or a receiver, one of the two. Actually, I think it's the state is considered the custodian, and you're going to retrieve it from them, make the claim and surrender it, and that claim is your directive and indemnification and all that. Say, hey, settle the accounts and transfer the title, expenses incidental. That's those
Can I
three
tell you a
codes I came
secret?
across. Go ahead.
The number one thing you have to do is, of course, everyone says like correct your status, but how do you correct your status? Well, you have to enact something that demonstrates, without any doubt, that you are of majority status and you're in control of your affairs, your mental, and it has to be very clear that it's no longer an infant estate, and it has to be
Right.
articulated on paper somehow in some expression of law that is indeed a fact of law. And that's what
Right.
a lot of people fail to do first. Once you've done that, the next step would be to enjoin, I guess, all of those assets under another trust, right, or another sole proprietorship, and claim that one. And within that, right, would include the birth certificate securities. That later, that if you bring it to the proper venue with jurisdiction and standing, that the interrogatories would make them compelled to disclose the information that's normally impenetrable, which they won't disclose, which means that they'll just have to do the payout. But I'm just speculating.
Well, our status is already corrected. I think we act in bad ways or bad manners, bad faith, that subjugate our status. Like Malik always says, is it your person or is it my person? Right? If it's your person, then that's your statutory person. You deal with that. But if it's my person, then you can't be forcing forced labor upon me. Plus, all the codes and statutes are going to be only for functions of public office, as appointed, assigned, elected, or acting positions or capacities.
Well, they don't make distinctions for you when you go and you.
Naturally, that all the laws don't apply to you. It's only if you're, how do you say, I guess, underwriting it or self-confessing or self-informing or self-incriminating, like you're a citizen or you're a resident, and then that starts, I guess, subjugating, or if not putting you in the usury system, where it starts establishing, I guess, minimum contents on their end. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, my interpretation of this, at the final step, there's the person that was, and it's going to be collateralized. That birth certificate person, the person, it's not their person, it's not my person, it's just a person, and it's going to be collateralized. It represents something of neither. And a living will is an express trust, and that birth certificate in that bond form, a bail bond or bailment, is an express trust. And you can see on the document the expression of a trust. Combine those with your own certification, your letter of intent, that living will, an expression of the trust, and then your letter of intent for indemnification, arbitration, or whatnot, and there you go. And it should just automatically, according to notice to principals, notice to agent, notice to agents, notice to principal, set in the electronic record a notification throughout the system. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, but it's got to take prodding to do that, Wizard. A lot of prodding, but you have to stand firm.
It's going to take getting those other branches of government to learn how to communicate with each other when we start enforcing this, because it goes across the board.
Yeah, agreed. It's important for us to know how to express this, because they don't. And if someone doesn't and it doesn't get done, then who are we to blame but ourselves at that point? If they're not going to do it, then we have to. If you want a job done right, you have to do it yourself. And when it comes down to the law, it is up to the people here to know the law. I mean, there's nowhere in the Constitution says anything about lawyers or attorneys. You can have
Nope.
counsel, but you're supposed to be able to manage your own affairs, and ignorance of the law is no excuse on this land.
Also, too,
Right.
that counsel is only for criminal acts. You don't have
Everything
counsel
is civil
for
now.
civil.
It's all commerce,
Yeah.
even criminal
Yeah.
is. It's all
Yeah, but
big.
if
Even
you're
it's
going
equity,
all false.
even
yeah, but if
equity
you're going
says
for
equity. Even equity says equity acts in personam.
yeah, there's only one form of action, civil, right? Well, what I was
Yep.
trying to say is that under the Judiciary Act, you you can't have counsel, right? That counsel, counsel is a criminal, right? Right, or they classify it as criminal. So technically, any attorney for a civil action, you would have to the appropriate form of delegating the authority would be through power of attorney or limited power of attorney. Otherwise, they shouldn't be representing you.
Yeah, limited power of attorney is how all esquires do their business, except they do it under a commercial license. However, we have a right that's secured to have counsel and assistance of counsel, and anyone you could assign a limited power of attorney to anyone you want, and that right to do that is secured. The government
Yeah, but
can't interfere with that right.
Wouldn't that be through implied authority? Because most of the times, if you
No,
challenge that,
it's through, and they express it in Article 1, the freedom of association, freedom of religion, and in that religion, that's where you actually seek counsel, isn't it? Every culture I know of seeks counsel
Yeah,
independently through prayer of their God.
Sixth Amendment, but more important than that, the limited power of attorney is a contract. And the government can't intermeddle in your contracts. They're private and
what
lawful.
I'm trying to say is attorneys never collect a limited power of attorney or a full power of attorney.
Right.
Well, they do. They always have a contract. Listen, they always have a contract, and they're attorneys. So technically, it is a limited power of attorney. It might not say it, but it is.
But the letter of engagement, that's just the terms and conditions, not the delegation of authority over to the other party.
Right, but until you understand that and learn how to enforce those plenipotentiary powers, so of managing all of your own affairs, even the legal affairs, means you got to learn how to beat that lawyer. Well, how do you beat that lawyer?
You know the rules better than him.
There you go. Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 12, Texas. You're not supposed to be able to hire an attorney because they're corporate attorneys, except by and through a board of directors. Guess what? I don't have a board of directors. Do you? So if I can't hire an attorney, who says you can force an attorney on me?
Well, we must be in the wrong venue. I don't think there's any standing for a case here today.
Absolutely. See, your subject matter is a little bit off. I'm not the subject. I am subject to the powers. There are no powers but that which are ordained of God. And I guarantee you, I fear not, for I have been redeemed. He has called me by name. I am his. Therefore, I am subject to him. I'll seek his counsel. Thanks.
And there's no case for them to adjudicate either.
That's what I mean.
No, it doesn't have a judicial value.
Right. And you tell them that. There's nothing here to adjudicate. You all are dismissed.
I presume, correct me if I'm incorrect, most of the time there isn't a contractual contract between the attorney and the party he's representing. They just send out letters of engagement and not really delegated authority, as in simulating full power of attorney or if not limited power of attorney.
So,
correct?
In law, an agreement, covenant is an agreement. Guess what? Similar, the synonyms, literally contract. As a verb, agree by lease, deed, or other legal contract. Undertake. You feel like an undertaker? You've been undertaking all those performances of the functions of public office all pretty good all your life. Just didn't know what the fuck you was doing. Neither do they. Given an undertaking, they assigned it to you and you gladly took it and signed for it. In that signature, you pledged, you promised, you agreed, you contracted. It's as simple as that, folks. But a covenant, we know biblically, mutual compact to do or not do something, a contract, agreement, pact, promise. Originally, present participle of convenir, agree, meet. Did you meet
It's
your
usually about
maker?
performance too, you know, as opposed to property.
Come together, unite, be suitable. You going to file a suit? Are you suitable? No, I don't have a board of directors. Agree, together, to come. In law, a promise made by deed. Applied in Scripture to God's arrangements with man as a translation from Latin testamentum. The meaning solemn agreement between members of a church from 1630s. Covenant, to enter into a formal agreement or contract. Have you accepted? Have you entered into a formal agreement with a greater power, a higher power? No matter what you call it. Do you already have a covenant? Do you already have a contract with a greater truth, maybe? And can rightly divide the word of those contracts and show where they're false? I'm not a United States citizen. I'm not a resident. This isn't a residential lease agreement, but rather a credit agreement. There is an indemnification and, of course, an arbitration clause, both. Oops. They kind of have nowhere to go. It kind of leads them into every situation. You just got to go into arbitration and remedy it in private. Don't make a public suit about it. It's not suitable.
Yeah, arbitration is usually the ideal forum to deal with that kind of controversy. But unfortunately, sometimes it ends up in the courts. You know, there's some controversies that people just can't come to terms with the arbitration terms. So off to, you know, to court. But then even in those cases, there's situations where, you know, like in a bankruptcy where there's a creditor plan that has to be approved. And again, that's back and forth. It's almost like an arbitration, yet it's still a court of law in a sense.
Right.
So,
well, and when we think about it, that equal consideration, equal benefit in the contracts and everything is to our advantage if we learn those contracts and understand how to put our place in there or put ourselves in place of it if we need to, you know, diplomatically with the private credentials and not actually taking upon a public contract. But yeah, I'm willing to contract privately. I've never seen any problem with that. It's the third party intervening that becomes a problem.
well, yeah, that's why you have to agree on the, you know, the moderation terms, you know, of the arbitration. But ultimately, you know, the thing is that when you come to into the, you know, inevitable where there is no easy solution, then you have to come, when it's the government involved, you have to come to the redress. And that's where the rubber meets the road. And a lot of people, of course, they don't want you, they want to derail you at this point. They want people to say, oh, it's too much, just hire an esquire. But esquires don't deal with these parts of law, they deal with a legal society. And when you talk about redress and the corrections of wrongs and reparations, yeah, there's reasonable attorney fees that you're going to recover in there for yourself or for an esquire, but that's never enough compared to the rackets that you could participate in with that bar card, you know, so to speak. I'm just speculating with opinion here. But, you know, the whole purpose of the redress is that, you know, you have a right, and it's a reserved, retained right for your petition of redress of your grievances for any interference with your rights to pursue happiness. Now, think of this. you got to think of all your Bill of Rights as contiguous. You don't take them out of place. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It just goes on,
Right.
and they all go included. It's not exclusive of any of them. So you have the right to pursue happiness. You have the right to property, to liberty, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom to peacefully assemble, to be free from cruel and unusual punishment, unreasonable searches and seizures, to receive proper notice via due process of law, like you say, and the fundamental protection of equal protection of the laws of the United States of America, period. That pretty much sums up what you have to state to get your redress. Now, what venue do you state that in? That depends on the situation, right?
Right, and that's if you learn how to, again, just like the language of contracts, there's a language of trust too, and in the language of trust and contract, we realize that equity deems that the beneficiary is the true owner, and it's the true owner that needs to know how to contract. So it's simple as that. And again, a trust does not fail for want of trustee. So if there is a trustee and you can out contract him, that's the way to do it. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. And today's remedy is known as legal tender. Legal tender money is defined today as negotiable instruments. So that means you have to learn how to instrumentalize negotiations. Negotiations, not protests.
And that's the preferred way of reparations, is through the legal tender. That's how reparations are doled out by the government. It's the best they can really do. They can't. They don't own property, but they do have those notes.
and when you learn how to contract, it's that remedy at common law that can prevent a guy from going to prison and actually possibly dying simply because he committed a smaller crime by indenturing him into a say somebody broke a car window and reached in and stole an iPad and a phone and this and that and got caught. Now, wouldn't it make sense that if the victim was truly the victim and he wanted to prosecute, wouldn't he have the right to extend that contract that the state's trying to do at the same point? So in that, wouldn't it be wise and generally procure a better engagement in rehabilitation or a better learning or a better standard of honor and stuff if you had that young gentleman indentured to, say, serve you every Saturday morning by helping you out with landscaping? You got 3 fucking acres. It takes a lot of work. So he's going to help you out for 4 or 5 hours on Saturdays to help you out on landscaping. You're going to sit back and drink your tea. You'll talk to him, communicate with him, tell him about your life, your lessons you've learned, and hopefully instill in him through an education. You can feed a man for a day by giving him a fish. You teach him to fish, he'll feed himself for a lifetime. And if you do that method by bringing him up in the ways of the Lord, whether he's your child or not, he likely won't waver from it. And this is just instilling good honor, decency, loyalty, respect, truthfulness, integrity.
Yeah, and back to the fealty, one of your favorite words that you brought up, and that brings us back to why you would be, it's not just a loyalty to the principles of America, but it's a fealty because, you're reciprocating that generosity that the predecessors here gave to the posterity that you're supposed to bring to the next generation and their posterity. You're supposed to retain it and protect it, right, and defend it. And that's part of the point of redress, is to correct the wrongs, and if part of that was that they took from you, it needs to be returned. And it's you can't take people's property without due process of law, and that includes your secured rights. So when you see this happening to people and they're not getting the redress, then they're missing out on the whole point of all that fighting, all the work that was done to have that enshrined in writing that can't be denied. Trust me, if it could be reworded because it was hearsay, the leaders would happily do it. I'm sure they do not like the paper that the Bill of Rights is written on, and they certainly don't consider it toilet paper.
Yep.
But it's I mean, I'll just say this is that if we didn't have that right to redress, then it would be a worthless set of words, contrary to what the authors intended.
Yeah,
So we
we'd
need
have
the
to
people.
accept. We would have to accept the change we were dressed in.
So, you know, and then you ask, well, where is that? Where is that remedy lie? You know, and I think his audio was so bad, it's still on here, but he was mentioning about risk management and other insurance agents, you know, for the towns, the townships, the villages, provinces, boroughs, valleys, whatever it is. They all have that. And once you're damaged or your property's been damaged or you've been misinformed through misrepresentation or misinformation or failure to act, failure to inform, or a failure to prevent because someone had a breach of their fiduciary duty of care in their trustee position, right? And then you're only bringing the claim down because you're denied your right various gatekeeping activities and practices, right?
Yeah, and
You tried to do it through the private, but their gatekeeping practices were you were denied, and it prevented you when you sought to bring that claim in the private. So now your only way is to bring it to their risk management or other insurance agents now.
right, and that's why I mentioned in the city council meeting, you know, in order for me to be able to go forward, I need that surety bond company's name, and people aren't giving it to me. You know.
Oh, really? Okay, well then, I mean, why'd you then? That's what interrogatories are for. Did you
Yep.
know? Hey, here's a
Well,
secret now.
I'm calling his secretary up in the morning. I spoke to the mayor just before the meeting, and then of course I had my address at the meeting. So I arranged it. I'm going to call his secretary in the morning to set up another appointment to meet with him real quick. And in the meantime, he's going to let her know that they need to get that information to me. So that'll be taken care of in the morning, supposedly.
So I heard this little thing. I don't know if it was true or not. You know, I kind of heard it, and someone was talking. Neighbor overheard someone over the fence. They were talking, and they mentioned that the fact that you could actually include interrogatories in your lis pendens when you're doing your notice of pending lawsuit. It can include those interrogatories, like
Yeah, admit
John
or
Doe,
deny.
insurance bond number, insurance agent, you know, insurance agent's bond number. You know, John Doe number 2, you know, that it goes like that. And those are like, that's part of the suit that's filed. And then the interrogatories addressed to the proper parties when they're served. Now there's a legal obligation to respond or reply. Otherwise, you just keep it down the process.
Yeah.
But I just heard
You do that
from the
within
neighbor
a
talking over the
subpoena
fence.
system?
Say that again.
Are you also able to do that within a subpoena do system?
Subpoena deuces
Right.
taken. That's call forth the record. That's basically what we're talking about. You're going to bring
Right,
forth the record. You're
that's what I
gonna
was asking.
you're gonna
Instead of
take
the
in.
Go ahead.
It's gonna act the same way. You're gonna put interrogatories in there like Officer Lanham. Officer Lanham's bond number is such and such 2345. Yes or no, or admit or deny. And you're just going to put admissions in there that they have to admit or deny. That's going to set it up that you know what you're talking about, and the questions are about the evidence and how the process works to file your claim.
And they can be short form answers like, you know, what is Officer so-and-so's bond number? You can ask that in an interrogatory
Yeah.
because it's a very brief answer and straightforward and evidentiary, like you said.
So what I've got before me is you mentioned that term fealty, and it's an important term to understand in the English language. So what we've got here is etymology of feel, not F-E-E-L, but F-E-A-L, from which we get fealty. Fealty or feel as a verb is to hide, conceal, to hide, bury, enter, penetrate, pass into. Is that like an import? Pass into, same thing, to hide. So we have feel as a verb is to hide, and that would be to put into something, pass into something, to conceal it, import it into something. Creating privacy. Feel as an adjective, however, is faithful. Faithful, loyal, true, sincere. Loyal, see fidelity. Remember, we were talking about the fidelity bond. Fidelity bond is a bond insuring the Postal Service.
Right. Well, fidelity also applies to duties and how well you're adhering to the trust, right?
Well,
Or you're
it's
agreeing.
all bonds posted. So it goes throughout every jurisdiction because they're posting bonds.
Well, yeah, and you know I guess the big secret about the whole thing is that as long as people aren't really aware of that and they keep believing the way they think things are, and it's easy to fund those things because they don't create, fractional reserve gains. I think that the real scam is the fact that people are kept ignorant of how it's really functioning out there, how money is really created. To think
Yeah.
for a second that it's anything but the creation of digital whatever. It's always been that way since as long as they could keep ledgers.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from being gold and silver, anytime you're talking paper, it's the same concept as digital currency. It just happens to be in a in a paper or an inscribed form, but it's essentially the same. I'll say one other thing though is what we were talking about before, where you're talking about getting control of some of these assets that have always been kept out of our control because we're considered an infant state, right? And they've always been managed by other trustees. That having control of those things, oh geez, I just lost my thought there.
Well,
Down too many roads there at once.
well, having control of it again correlates directly to the aspect of having the capabilities of controlling it and knowing your limits, and if you can't control it and need help, being specific on who you're going to get for help because you don't want to destroy it. Always looking out for your ass, covering your ass, and making sure that you know your friends and you know your enemies and how much you can work with them. It's a matter of learning how the bankers work so you can be your own banker. You have to understand how your enemies play the game. And the enemy in this situation isn't so much an enemy, but it's all the different jurisdictions and how they apply themselves in this legal system.
Yeah, and it's also the ledgers. Now I remember what we were talking about. Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
numbers. Numbers are
Each one,
boring and tiresome, and nobody wants to talk about the numbers. But the numbers are about everything. 'Cause it's all about money in the end, isn't it?
yeah, each
The
one's
ledger.
keeping their own ledger. Each one keeps their own ledger. Yep.
So the big thing about ledgers is that ledgers are the thing that's private. It's kept within the bookkeepers, the record keepers, and they have certain fiduciary duties to protect and keep that accurate, right? But it was still dependent upon a man, a scribe, an esquire, and an officer of the court, whatever it may be, record keepers, wizards. But the fact of the matter is now, the whole aspect of that is having trust in that ledger for it to be revalued, redistributed, fungible, where it can be divided in equal amounts. The blockchain technology has brought about a new way of doing ledgers where they could be public yet assured of accuracy and not intermeddled because of the encryption technology. Now, what we've first seen the appropriation of it is it being appropriated currency. I firmly don't believe that its destiny is for currency. I don't see its destiny being used for that purpose. I see a different opportunity here. And I could say this, that there's some pretty high level people in finance, whatever, that have hypothesized similar things, that I have a feeling that it's going to be somewhat of the future of this, but it's going to be those who are in the know. It's never going to be publicized, not for generation. But here's
Yeah.
what I'm going to get at is that when you're talking about getting control of those assets of the infant estate, when you finally do have your status of your majority, and now you have control of those assets of your birth record account. You don't know exactly what it is, but you have reasonable knowledge to expect this, and you have there's enough facts for litigation, right, where you can get interrogatories and depositions to find out about this stuff. At least put it on record. There's a controversy, along with all your school records. all your past, any kind of cases that you've had, those are considered part of assets of your estate. Whether, good and bad claims, active lawsuits, past lawsuits, all of that is managed by the estate. Now, as in the majority, you can actually be the sole proprietor that is registered as the all caps name and say, wait a second,
Right.
these are all mine. And when you come in with that presentment, now, well, you've got a legitimate controversy now. It has to be addressed. It can't be summarily dismissed as a matter of fact and a matter of law. So from
Right.
that point, you have an ability to get to these assets. But the ultimate question is, how will you liquidate it once you've ascertained you are maybe a rightful owner of them and have them in there? Because
I'm willing
again,
to split them 50-50 with the United States.
it's not even that, but I'll tell you what, here's what the key is. They're not going to negotiate. They're not negotiable because they're drones. But here's a key. It gets back to the blockchain technology. Because ultimately, you get them delivered to you as tax credits. The hardest part is how do you liquidate those tax credits? Nobody knows how to do that. The thing is, businesses buy tax credits all the time. They're all about getting rid of their tax liability on one side of their ledgers, right? And getting tax credits. And the IRC allows you to sell tax credits at whatever rate you want, 50%, 100%, whatever you want to negotiate is private, but you can transfer those credits. The problem is most large corporations aren't going to trust Wizard or the tribe to buy our tax credits because they might be fraudulent for all they know. They have no trust in that, right? However, if there was a blockchain network that had trading of these tax credits that were already legitimized, see, blockchain has embedded into it something called smart contracts. If you ever want to have a real revelation, Wizard, look up smart contracts and blockchain technology, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I probably shouldn't be saying this stuff here, but I have a feeling no one is even following me now. They're out in outer space. But if you see what I'm saying here, it's the final solution for everything you're talking about. If it's been done yet, I don't know. It's all hypothetical. But when you look at it from the other things that have been done and failed, and what you know is true on record somewhere, how do you get at it? And then how do you bring that about into the real world where it can be utilized? And this may be a way of doing it, but that's yet to be seen because it's like I said, it hasn't been utilized for that yet that I know of. It could be already. So yeah, so there's a lot. It's beyond currency and trading and securities. It's about being able to move a new form of money of our tax credits in a way that can now benefit us. Because if a corporation's got to pay me for my tax credits on par or even 50%, like you said, it's an extraordinary amount of money. It ends up being millions. Can you manage that properly if you had it? The thing is that if everyone gets it, mismanages it, we have inflation.
Did you see that SEC agreement for the James A. Williams Trust I pulled up here not long ago? 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think. And it was talking 100 billion certified by the SEC. Amazing. 100 billion just off of his birth certificate.
Yeah, I mean, you almost think of them as abstract, but who writes the debt anyways? Where these numbers come from anyways? They're all abstract. So it really comes down to who's got the best story to back up their numbers.
Who can back up their numbers, right? Who can disprove their numbers? The decimal point. I'll give you a very fine example here, guys. If I take 1 cent and I multiply it by 1 cent, what do I get?
Well, if you multiply it times 1, you get 1. But multiplication is an abstract concept too.
Well, let me show you something very succinct, and I want everybody to pull up their phone, go to your calculator, and remember that 1 cent in the decimal world is represented by 0.01. Take that 0.01 and multiply it by 0.01, which is the same thing as a penny times a penny, 1 cent times 1 cent. And tell me what that calculator tells you. It's 1/1000th. you get 0.0001. How does that work for math? You see what bankers might be doing back there? Yeah, it's a mill rate. They're only giving you a percentage, a mill rate.
Well, remember, there's limits. They can only go whatever they're permitted to do for whatever the legal stuff permits them at that time. But it's pretty extraordinary. Right now, I believe they've lifted all limits. They could basically just do it infinitely. That's why we have 35 trillion in debt, supposedly.
Yeah. Well, think about the coupons that you get that you take to the store. You get a 50-cent coupon off a box of cereal, say. You go to the store, you present the coupon, you get 50 cents off. But if you keep that coupon, which is redeemable, it's a coupon. Isn't that what the obligation of the Securities of the United States says? Coupons. So you can use that coupon for its redemption value, and it says on it what the redemption value is.
A tenth of a cent.
A tenth of a cent.
It adds up, though.
Yeah.
It used to. I used to know people that did the newspaper coupon scam.
You save up all those coupons, everybody's thrown in the trash. Every last one of them's redeemable.
No. They did large scale. Not even like that. I'm talking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Large scale. and guess where you get the most of those? Your local newspaper company that's throwing them out.
It's an inside job. It's always been that way, Wizard.
I delivered for the local paper for numbers of years. Oh yeah.
Yep. So you know what we're talking about here. Either way, the point is this: is that coupons are a bill of exchange, and they do have a redemption value for them, and that's why you have to be careful writing coupons. A lot of people like to try to write their own coupons. That's a dangerous thing. You can write promissory notes, though, and you can write other kinds of bills of exchange.
You can write a bill of exchange, yeah. You know, a check. Every time you write a check, you're writing out a bill of exchange.
Right, but remember, with checks and drafts and the routing numbers, you get these other intricacies. There's so many simpler
they're domestic.
ways.
Yeah, they're domestic.
Yeah.
So if you hand write it in your own form, guess what? That's international. That's what bills of exchange are for, is between domestic and international. And if you're going to do it domestically, you can use conversions of those bills of exchange, such as a check in return for what? Federal Reserve notes. Guess what? We have a bill of exchange. Does that mean that promissory note is the same thing as a bill of exchange? Yep.
On par, dollar for dollar, for what it's written as. The funny thing is that with promissory notes is the best part for the banks, because once they've agreed to get you to do the promissory note with them, and they get that Truth in Lending Act statement, they've got all their checks boxes dotted I's and crossed T's. They go to the Federal Reserve agent with your promissory note, and that Truth in Lending Act says, look, we did good. And whatever that promissory note says, they get that exact amount in Federal Reserve notes deposited into their account. Yep. As long as they promise, they're going to be holder in due course, it says. So they're holding your note, which is your property, but they're holder in due course because you promised to pay them according to that payment plan, right? But they just can't be satisfied with getting triple whatever they loaned out, right? That they already got redeemed for, right? They're not satisfied with that, so they get greedy and they say, you know what? We could just this guy here will endorse it, and we'll convert it into a draft, and we'll collateralize it with a bunch of other ones, and then we'll sell it on the securities market and get dividends and all this good stuff. And they'll do that. And then in the meantime, while you're making payments on the supposed promissory note that no longer exists, that your obligation has disappeared, you're making deposits to them. When you make a payment, it's actually a deposit. But what do banks do with deposit? Every deposit's fractionally reserved. They just got 9 times your deposit. So whatever you pay as a payment, they just multiply that times 9. And now they've got that free money to loan out. They go to the Federal Reserve. Look, we just got deposits. Here's our statement or accounting record and the accrual method at the end of the month. Here's what we just got in deposits. And then bam, they get a huge another deposit from the Federal Reserve. Thanks, guys. Let's continue. Let's say for some reason that you decide you default on payments or something and stop. And like, that's really bad you did that, but maybe we'll work out a good plan with you, right? So they'll say, but listen, you're just going to stop paying for 3 months. They do that so that now they can say, it's an uncollectible debt. Now we get to write off the full value of that for tax credits for the IRS. Oh, this is great. So they write that up. But in the meantime, they don't tell you that. They tell you that, no, we're coming to take the property as collateral. You're like, wait a second. How was the property collateral? Because I never owned it when I gave you the promissory note. That was the collateral. You were supposed to be holding it as collateral, the promissory note. You were the holder in due course. Where's my note? And they're saying, no, we want your property. It's like, but the property was, that's not the deal. So, yeah, they want the property too. In the meantime, even if they did win and the ignorant 99% gave up their property, they're still trading that note in the securities market, making dividends. And they never even told you. They tell you about the redemption they got from the note in the first place. They didn't tell you about the deposits from your payments. They didn't tell you when they securitized it and traded on the market. They didn't tell you about the dividends. They didn't tell you they didn't have rights to the supposed secured collateral, which was your property, not theirs. And to make it even worse, 10 years after the fact, they're still getting dividends on your note that you never got back.
Yep.
Damn, they're good.
And you know what happens in this digital world is you can take a definitive paper document, enter it into the system, and have that paper document in a file system somewhere so those records match up. But guess what? Mother Nature comes in and does some evil things sometimes, and so courthouses sometimes get flooded, like the one here in Waterloo several times now. And it destroys those paper records. But hey, that electronic record's still there. So guess what they can do? They can just make a new note. And they have access to do that any time they want. Oh, we needed a new note. Sell it over and over again digitally. Yeah.
Yeah, Wizard. Nobody wants to do this. They'd rather debate, weaponized empathy and hearsay rather than to look at the way they're being robbed and how taxation and this type of theft has destroyed our nation, really.
Yeah, and that's basically what it comes down to, is people have a lack of knowledge. This here is trial balance. It's what you were talking about earlier. Definition, how it works, purpose, and requirements. And a trial balance is a bookkeeping worksheet in which the balance of all ledgers are compiled into debit and credit account column totals that are equal. So when the balance is off, when the account is out of balance, they have to have a trial. So what they do is they do a set off or an offset. They offset the balance by laying a charge. And the balance beam goes like this. Now somebody else is supposed to come along and give equal consideration. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, they've got all these little schemes that go on that require warm bodies at some point just to keep it from getting out of hand. And they've got all kinds of schemes to optimize the way of using those warm bodies to further their little their schemes and such. And the fact is that you could almost say that the oppressor and the slave are cooperators in ignorance.
Yeah, well, and they do it. Yeah, and they do it through what we discussed before, is that lingua franca, the vehicular language. Most people don't know what they're saying, so they agree on a lot of things that they shouldn't. Ask people if they're a United States citizen. Are you a United States business? No, I'm unemployed. Well, how are you a United States citizen? They just don't know the simple facts that are out there because they've never been taught those. They've been taught to remember everything but looking up the truth to see what it really means. Nobody ever explained to me what a United States citizen was other than you were born in the United States. Wonderful. So now we have another statement that I was born in the United States. Well, where's the United States? Well, it certainly isn't where they claimed on that map, because I come to find out that the United States is located in Washington, D.C. and not on a map. So, who the fuck is the one that really knows how to read and write? That judge looked at me and says, do you understand English? Yes. Those little words in and on mean so much difference. You really need to go back and relearn concise English so you can rightly divide what's being said before you. And with that,
Yes.
we're already 3.5 hours. Give me some words on the way out, and we're going to shut her down, guys.
No, that was, I appreciate you entertaining the conversation this far. Wizard, has been great. I hope the viewers got a little something out of it, because we touched on stuff that I don't think you're going to hear anywhere else to this level.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the conversation with you. You've been really out here doing a lot of the hard work that people don't want to go through. A lot of it's hard to tie together because it may or may not apply, but having the wherewithal to study the stuff that does apply, at least you're showing the way it's supposed to be done. I try to do the same when I can, and I think we all want to help each other express the things that have been given to us in this way that give us a better opportunity than the Second Amendment one, which is makes just the rest of the world is dealing with what we were talking about earlier. That's why we don't deal with that here, because we have better remedies and better redress than to go to arms when we have problems that we can't address in the private. So yeah, on that, a salute to you, Wizard, and to the panel, and I hope to keep the conversation going on the next one.
Yep, appreciate it, brother. Always appreciate what your input is. What do you got, Imperium?
I really like the last video.
Awesome.
Was that yesterday, or when you were
That was
talking
tonight.
about explaining? No, the other one that was explaining to Joe about the special appearance. About holding due course as benefactor coming in to court.
Right. That's well. If the whole system is dependent upon the state being the custodian of property, and they're holding property in abeyance until the rightful claimant comes forth and makes a valid claim. And the property they're holding is the estate property, and that's supposed to go to the benefactor. So the benefactor comes up, makes a claim, and settles the accounts by giving a directive and surrendering the estate title over to the United States to have all the accounts settled, making sure all creditors are made whole, and whatever credits remain, are then transferred in that surrender to the new account, merged with the new trust.
Are they holding property, or are they holding commercial property?
They're holding the credits, which is the intangible property. And that comes from the data elements that you've been giving them all your life. No matter where you go, you sign a document, you give them a name and address.
Commercialized, right? Because technically, if the property that they're claiming or the state is claiming, usually that property is registered, right? And technically, we're registering that within the commercial realm.
Correct. And it's through
real estate is.
And it's through the statistical record. Everybody's putting down the name, address, how old they are, what their job is, on all kinds of documents, and it creates that census. And again, I remind you, it's the Bureau of Vital Statistics that you get your birth certificate from, and it's created at the time you're born, enumeration at birth, which creates the state's vital statistic jurisdiction. And that Bureau of Vital Statistics is regulated by the Department of Commerce.
Perfect. Yeah, especially since that birth certificate, which they're considering organization, enterprise, franchise, is in the creation of the sole proprietor. And then it seems like the UCC1 that was put forth by the Federal Reserve Bank, you know how if you read the description, it's saying that they're laying claim to man, his hands and his feet, but I don't think they're really laying claim to man itself, but the commercial activity that's produced from man and man's hands and feet attached with the birth certificate, which is the sole proprietorship. So then they're laying claim to all the commercial action within that jurisdiction, which that commercial activity is then producing income, which is profit, arm's length transaction for the fair market value of profit and gains on the principal, which is deductible off the fair market value cost basis.
Yeah, absolutely. They're using the long arm statutes as a major force to reach into the individual pocket using that force, because I don't have a military. So that premise alone, again, remember the government we have is a military government, and we're born in military hospitals with maternity wards and infantry wards, saying that we were born without a father, because there's never been a memorialization that we are a legacy heir of the very Father which art in heaven. And we give him this name, and he hails from this family, whatever. A lot of things that are being institutionalized into our education and our every aspect of our life that distracts us from the very obligation we have as natural beings to look out for ourselves. We give up for a comfort and convenience of letting somebody else do that for us.
Right.
Do we really need a military? That's a big question I've had. I mean, if people were peaceful, then we wouldn't need a military. And everybody I know, we were born kind-hearted and didn't really have any kind of bad traits or anything until we learned it from others. And it just seems to get worse the more we get congested in these big, huge societies.
Well, I think a lot of it, well, I think in general, the people are good. I think it's the select few that are corrupt, and the select few usually or previously have risen to power or are in positions of power that corrupt.
Yeah, they seek it.
System.
They seek it, and they know that people are wolf or sheep, and they can act like a wolf in sheep's clothing and get away with it. So, all right. Well, with that, you bet. I always appreciate your support. And same goes for everybody else. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody that wants to share some love. Always appreciated. And you know me, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see you next time, guys.